welcome to the Starting Line podcast with me, Rich Lee. Today, I'm talking to Zak O'Sullivan. Zak is 19. He's from Cheltenham, just down the road from me here in Gloucestershire. And Zak is a racing driver. Zak currently races for Formula 2, or in Formula 2. And in fact, he won at the weekend. He just won in Monaco from 15th place to win it, which is absolutely incredible. He obviously has aspirations to race in Formula 1. He is currently a member of the Williams Driving Academy. It's looking good. It's looking like he can get there. And it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. You know, that's the thing. After interviewing guests, I tend then to follow their careers and, you know, cheer from the sidelines. So can't wait to see how Zak progresses in the sport. It's a great conversation about how he got into it, mindset. We talk about money. You know, we talk about the fact that it's quite an inaccessible sport for most people. It costs a lot of money to get to that kind of level. And we talk about that. We talk about his drive. We talk about, just everything that points him in the direction of success. Really fascinating guy. 19 years old. I think the youngest guest, I'm almost certain, the youngest guest I've had on to date. You can barely tell. Super mature, very much one track. Knows exactly what he wants and he's going after it. Good luck to him. Follow Zak on the socials, Zak O'Sullivan. Follow the Starting Line. If you want to get in touch with guest suggestions or you want to sponsor or something like that, it's hello@startinglinepod.com. I might start using social media to show some more behind the scenes stuff, how we put this podcast together, how I get the guests and that whole process, because I think some people have asked those questions anyway, so I might start sharing a little bit more on social media behind the scenes. So if you want that good stuff, head to Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok, Starting Line Show, or the Starting Line Podcast. You'll find it, or links in the description. All that remains to be said is, without further ado, I bring to you my conversation with Zak O'Sullivan. Enjoy. Thank you very much for coming on, Zak. I really appreciate you inviting me into your house and can't wait to get into this because for me, I'm not a huge motorsport fan. I don't know tons and tons. Obviously, I've done a load of research on you and motorsport in general, but I think a lot of people come into this won't necessarily be huge F1 fans or necessarily even know the path to becoming an F2 driver, an F1 driver, all of these things. So we're going to go all the way back. Where were you born?
I was born in London, in Chelsea. Grew up there until I was 8. Mm-hmm. I went to school there before moving to here in Cheltenham, again for school. But it was around the point.
So you moved for school?
For school. Growing up in central London was cool. Yeah. But as an 8-year-old, trapped in a flat. I remember having to walk 25 minutes to go and play football in the park, and I always wanted a dog as well. So we had this place. We thought, okay, we'll move to Cheltenham. Mm-hmm. It's a nice outside space for me. I went to Cheltenham College as well for school, and got a bit of a different experience.
How were you at school?
I enjoyed it. Yeah. Truthfully, I really enjoyed it until I started racing.
Yeah, well, then you had your head turned, I guess.
No one loves school, but I was relatively okay. Yeah. Didn't dislike it.
So when were you born? So you're 19 now?
19, so 2005.
2005, yeah. So what kind of people were you? Were you a good pupil? Were you diligent, or were you just thinking sports
I was a mixture. Yeah. I think I wasn't terrible, but I wasn't brilliant, if that makes sense. Yeah. So I'd mess around a bit, but I'd always get good grades and do enough to get by.
You'd do it when it mattered.
Exactly.
I was exactly the same kid. I think a lot of my friends were like, Rich, you never do homework, you never revise, and you still kind of pull it out of the bag. Yeah.
Although I think
it teaches you terrible lessons.
It does, because looking back, my time at school was so much more stressful than it should have been.
Right.
I remember do your homework this evening. I'll leave it till the morning, and then wake up at 5:30 in the morning trying to get it all done. Then doing it in lunchtime at break. Yeah. I'd always get it done, but it was really, really stressful.
So, did you play video games and stuff?
Not that much, actually. I was never an iPad kid.
Right.
I didn't have a phone or anything.
It's funny you say I was never an iPad kid, because, for me, even the notion of being a kid when iPads were around. Yeah. I'm 36 now, so I think that I looked the other day. I'm putting together something of a school reunion. 20 years since we finished our GCSEs. 18 years since we finished A levels. Not that I actually finished A levels. I dropped out and had a kid. Not advised. Yeah, the Motorola Razr. Does that mean anything to you?
No.
That's amazing.
Nothing.
It was a flip phone. It was kind of like this. It was like the coolest thing, on TV. Everybody had a Motorola Razr, and they'd flip it right. That's that conversation done. You think, wow, powerful. So you weren't really into video games or anything?
No, nothing. I think my parents did a good job at this. They kept me away, even if we used to go to dinner a lot, and I would never have a phone, nothing.
Because you see it now, don't you? You see kids on their phones or on their iPads, and I think, as a parent, I just sit there and I think, you're paying for this. Probably not, not a small amount of money. And I get it, because you want a conversation, right? But your kids are sat there and they're just like the whole time they're just scrolling and or tapping, and you just think, where's the kind of integration? Where's that family connection?
It's really useful. I mean, from my side as well, you socially interact a lot younger as well. And my parents, would always involve me in conversations, right? Even if they're very simple conversations for them, it still made me feel involved.
What sort of things did you chat about?
I can't fully remember, but I know for a fact I was never. We used to eat out a lot, but it was more for the fact that I needed to socialise and make sure I could kind of hold my own.
I guess because you're an only child.
Only child.
Yeah, so
it'd have been really easy for me to just sit on an iPad all day.
Do you feel like, being an only child, you were closer to your parents as a result?
I don't know. I think a mixture. I think you become a lot more independent, a lot more self-reliant. I never really I still don't really need anyone else to have fun, or I'd happily just sit on my own all day and entertain myself, which I think is quite useful. You never really...
I'm terrible at it. I'm terrible in my own company. I don't know,
So I'm not particularly... I'm social when I need to be, but I don't need other people. I'm not like a social butterfly, always needing interaction.
Hence why you've ended up in solitary in a car.
Yeah, exactly.
For a long period of time.
Yeah, exactly.
I was going to say with just your thoughts, but I mean, we'll get onto it later on. But just the idea of your thoughts wandering, I can't even imagine it.
I normally have an engineer in the radio.
That's the thing. Oh yeah, true. Yeah, of course. You've always got somebody talking to you, I guess. So from school, when did you start karting?
So I always had a massive interest in cars.
Was that from your dad?
In motorsport, yeah, from my dad's side. Just petrol head. Never really involved in racing. We used to go to a lot of the F1 races when I was younger.
Where? As in the UK or elsewhere?
Silverstone, Monza, Monaco, as many as we could.
Oh, so you'd travel for it?
Yeah, it was in my school breaks. Yeah. So I used to really enjoy it. I was a big fan. I used to watch all the races. I was a Ferrari fan initially.
Can you say that?
I can. Initially. Now, no. Williams. But yeah, I used to really enjoy it. I remember I was kind of obsessed by it.
And what kind of age are we talking here?
4 to 8, I would say. Okay. 4 to 7. I was watching every race.
I mean, 4. They always say, don't they? Kids go one of a few ways. It's trains, it's cars, it's dinosaurs.
My first word was Dada.
No, yeah, of course.
Second one was car.
No.
Then bus.
Right.
And then mum came fourth.
Bless your mum.
Yeah. So car and bus had priority.
Poor mum.
So I think from the get-go.
So your second word was genuinely car?
Yeah. And then bus. So I used to stand outside where we lived and watch the buses and go.
Right, okay. Bus. So you just had an interest. And
I don't know why.
Like, as you kind of got, so 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, yeah. How did you get to karting?
Yeah, so we went to the Autosport show in Birmingham in the NEC, and there was a small go-kart on sale at the time in a Ferrari colour scheme.
Right, nice.
I thought it was amazing, really, really cool. And I think after a year of pleading and begging for my 8th birthday, I got a go-kart. I woke up one morning and there it was, sat there. Not the same one, but a different one.
Yeah.
But,
wow, okay.
But yeah, it started from there.
Like mechanically, is this like, if I go down to the karting centre now, that's what it is?
It was a Bambino go-kart, so it's 2-stroke.
Right.
It was, I think it had 25cc engine or 30s, I'm not sure.
So what kind of speed are we talking?
They can do around 40 miles an hour.
Which, when you're 8 years old,
which is quite cool.
Is awesome. Yeah. I always wanted one of those. Yeah. Do you ever go to Toys R Us or anything like that? And you see all the I mean, not you probably because you've got the real thing, but I always remember those little cars. It's like up to 3 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, if only.
If only. so I got that and. I basically took it here actually to first try it out. Right. My dad's relatively mechanically minded, so got it up and running. Yeah. And then actually the tennis court over there used to be completely derelict, gravel.
Okay.
Not you couldn't play tennis on it, so like perfect place to Zak to start driving.
Absolutely.
And it was just as a bit of fun to start with. However, the first time I drove, I was meant to just drive around slowly, but the throttle stuck open for whatever reason.
Right.
So here's little me, terrified, going around a tennis court, but we also didn't take the net of the tennis court out.
Right. So
there was a gap on either side, about a cart width and a half.
Yeah.
And I was terrified because the throttle was...
So you've almost certainly... You've got a circuit?
Essentially around the outside of a tennis court. Yeah. But the problem was there was the net still there. So I had to get through the gap between the pole and the fence every single time. Yeah. So I stopped. I thought it was the worst birthday present ever. Hated it. Terrified of this go-kart. Yeah. Didn't touch it for a while. And then eventually I started getting back into it. And essentially I'd be drifting around the tennis court on the gravel. My dad thought, actually, he's not bad.
Yeah.
So we went to an arrive and drive karting place down in Kent. And it started from there, really. But there was never really an intention for it to be anything serious.
So were you travelling, back and forth?
Yeah, but nothing crazy, just on the weekends or every couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Just to get a feel for it. And it was something fun for us to do together.
Yeah, really. And who you racing other 8-year-olds?
Other people.
So was it organised? Was it?
Organised, yeah, events that were set up. Then I joined a small team. But again, we had no idea what was going on really, or how to go about it. So
effectively, these places, they just have teams that you can join.
Eventually, it started off as the circuit would provide you go-karts. Right. The person said, he's not bad, you should try and join a team. So we joined the Circuits Championship, where there's different teams running different go-karts and stuff like that. So we joined from there. And it went from there, one step to the next. So I raced in the UK until I was 11. Right. Ended up doing the British Championships.
So how do you? That's a big jump to go from just I'm off down to Kent.
It basically stepped up progression by progression.
But there was immediately somebody saw in you that there's some ability here.
Yeah, but like I said, it was never really a big thing for us. It was a bit of fun, and
that's the best thing about being a kid.
At the time, it wasn't
playing though, isn't it? And you're playing,
exactly.
That's the thing.
At the time, it wasn't very expensive, so it was something for us to do. I was still.
We'll get onto that.
We'll get onto that later. But I was still doing everything at school. School was a priority. I was playing sports at school.
What would you play?
Rugby mainly.
Yeah?
Rugby was what I was best at. I did.
What position?
I was number 10.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
I had to stop after a while because of injuries and stuff.
Yeah, were you picking up injuries? Were you?
I was a few silly finger stuff and ankles, but for racing at some point it was like, this is a really good idea.
Yeah. So how long, up to what age did you play rugby?
Around 13.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that was the point where I went, it's not it.
You just can't be doing.
I can't risk injuries.
I guess at 13, you're showing real promise. I mean, so we'll go back to 11.
11.
So 11, you start racing outside of the UK.
Yeah, UK. That was my last year racing the UK.
Right. Had you won anything at that point?
Yeah, I won the British Kart Grand Prix, which is a kind of a one-off race. They hold in the UK. It's like the race to win.
And what was that, under 11s?
That's 8 to 13-year-olds.
It's a real wide range of ages.
Yeah, so that's essentially called the cadet class.
Right.
So that's probably one of the most competitive kind of classes in karting.
How old were you when you won?
I was 11.
You were 11.
I was 11.
So you're racing 13-year-olds and still winning.
Yeah, but it was a competitive class. I enjoyed it a lot. And at the end of that year, we got approached by a team in Europe who did the basically junior European and World Championships on the world stage. This is now certified by FIA. We got approached by them to say, do you want to join our team for next year? We said, okay, let's see how it goes. At that point, it got quite tricky with school because that was nearly 40 weeks a year I was racing.
Wow.
And it was all abroad.
Yeah.
So I'd be going to Italy on a Wednesday, racing Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, back on Sunday night at 2 a.m, school on Monday morning.
Okay. What was it doing to you? Was it like...
It's a bit tiring.
That can't have been helping.
But I was 11, 12, so I didn't really get too tired. I was...
you've got energy for days,
But I was catching up on all my schoolwork whilst I was away. And
while you're travelling and things like that?
Yeah. I remember finishing a session, finishing qualifying, and then going to an office to try and finish my work, or in the hotel room by finishing schoolwork.
Yeah. So it's kind of like the life of a child actor. When you hear about it, it's that thing of... Because, child actors, don't they have a certain amount of education they have to have every day? There's loads of rules as to how many hours they can work and all of these things. Yeah.
I think it's similar to that, but except in motorsport, because it's not really a job and you're not really getting paid, there's no real legislation on it, which is a big issue in motorsport or any kind of elite
Do you think
sport
that needs to change?
age. Yeah, because I carried on through school as long as I could, even till A levels.
You did?
Yeah, but a lot of people at the time when I was 11, 12 were dropping out of school completely.
Yeah, right. So all the people that were racing as well?
Not all, but more than they should have been.
Right.
Teammates were going, yeah, we're going to make it to F1, drop out of school.
That's the thing, isn't it? If you show promise at that young age, I think a lot of people are like, well, of course I'm gonna, that's the path.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
A couple of drivers got picked up by academies, and then it was just, schools put to the side, which is never the wise thing to do.
So was that your parents, you think, keeping you in school,
Mixture
or was that personal?
about both of us as well. Yeah, I think it's good to stay in something.
Yeah.
And,
I mean, that's really mature.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I would have liked to quit if I could, but...
Well, that's the thing. If, when I was 13, somebody went, rugby was, something I loved. If somebody at 13 went, do you know what, Rich, you're really good at, you don't need to go to school anymore. I'd be like, thank you, bye. I wouldn't have looked back.
Yeah. Also, it had nothing to do if I stopped school as well.
Yeah, very true.
It was never, I'll be honest, it was never an option. It was like, you're doing school.
But you're racing 40 weeks?
Around 40 weeks a year. It's very, very busy.
So were you missing days at school and things like that?
Yeah, I was missing most weeks. Thursday, Friday, Saturday. It was Saturday school as well.
Right.
But I would just get sent all the work to do and have to bring it back basically by Monday morning.
What did your teachers say at the time?
They were, honestly, the school were pretty good. They were quite accommodating. Yeah. The school also had a few professional skiers. Right. For them, it's a bit easier because they take a whole season off, a term off. But they'd done professional sports before, so they were quite good at accommodating it.
So I guess the other option is tutors and things like that.
I did have tutors as well,
actually. To have a tutor travel with you?
Not travel with me, but I had some back when I was here to catch up on stuff.
Just to help.
Inevitably, I was slowly falling behind a bit.
Right.
Even doing all the work, you're still not being taught. You're just doing the work.
What do your friends think at this point? Well, your friends are like,
I think a lot of them were really
Zach, this is the coolest thing ever.
No, I think a lot of them were really confused. People who were close to me knew what I was doing.
Yeah.
I think some people in my year group were like, is this guy always ill or what?
Yeah, he's just like the random kid that turns up sometimes.
Sometimes it's a bit hard to comprehend when you're 11,
just got
12.
a year-round tan.
Yeah. Everyone was just confused, like I was never here.
Yeah.
I remember actually when I left that school, people were like, why were you never here? I was like, I'm
racing.
I just thought you liked cars. Yeah.
Did it feel like a sacrifice?
Not really. I mean, it's something I enjoyed doing.
Yeah.
So not at all.
That's the thing. Again, you're a kid, talking about enjoyment of it and, the energy that you brought to it. So were your parents travelling with you?
Yeah, mum and dad.
Mum and dad?
All the time,
yeah. What's their background? Like, what do they do?
No involvement in motorsport, which is the main thing.
I mean, that's actually, to jump ahead, a lot of people that do tend to, get further in motorsport, it's a surname, right? Yeah. That's the notion. I'm not sure that's true always, but...
Also, another thing is, especially in karting, it's the dads dreaming of the sons.
Yeah.
And that kind of ends quite badly most of the time.
You'd imagine it would.
Yeah. When it's the parents pushing them to do this, do this, do this. Yeah. They want their son to make it to F1.
Yeah. So, not in motorsports, but like, what did your dad do? What did your mum do?
My dad was involved in property and development, mainly in London. Yeah. I think always liked cars, like I said before, but never had I think when he had the money, didn't have the time. When he had the time, didn't have the money to go racing.
Talk to me about that. So what did he do before property?
A bit of building work, really, and kind of went up from a builder.
No way. So started as a builder. No way. Because I mean, like, I don't think it's too much to say. We're in a very beautiful house. So your dad's, your parents have clearly done well. So when you say he started as a builder, so we're talking, what was his upbringing?
He grew up in rural Ireland.
Right, okay.
A family, I don't know, a big family actually, I don't know the full details, but in Tipperary town itself, so very rural. Moved to London when he was 17, 18, get out of Ireland as quickly as possible, and went from there, really.
I mean, I guess this putting two and two together in terms of times, and in terms of the age that he would have been around that time, troubles and all that sort of thing were
not a great time to be an Irishman in the UK. No, but I think he wanted to escape Ireland as quickly as possible and move to London,
find his fortune.
Yeah, exactly.
Where the streets are paved with gold and all that nonsense. But I mean, he's clearly done very, very well. So I mean, so you said started as a builder.
Yeah, started as building work in London, any kind of job he could get.
So I mean, I guess there's some real work ethic that you're seeing and feeling.
No, exactly.
Off that. And what did he do? Start his own company?
I went from there, got to investment and.
Okay.
And a lot of it in property is also timing and.
That's the thing.
Being smart with...
Yeah, because I mean, now is not necessarily the best time property.
Now is not a good time at all. But to be honest, as an industry, it's quite up and down. There's
I mean, they always say,
the economy's crashing.
True wealth is in owning property, right? At some stage, that's or yes, it might go up and down, but it is in ownership, commercial and residential. And your mum, what she do?
My mum grew up in Cambridge in the UK, and went to art school actually. Cool. Very artistic. Some of that's been translated down to me as well.
Looking around again, there's some fantastic paintings. And
I really enjoyed art actually when I was a lot younger. So I used to do a lot of drawing. I had an art scholarship at school.
You did?
Yeah.
Oh, wow, okay. Painting, drawing?
Drawing. I just enjoyed it.
Sculpture, anything
A bit of sculpture, stuff like that. But just general art I enjoyed doing, and I think I picked it up from her.
Yeah.
And then she went into TV, actually, on the shopping channel, which is quite funny.
One of those QVC
Yeah, one of the QVC things.
Well, as in she was
presenter.
No way.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen it?
I haven't.
You need to find that.
But there must be, I think it's on
We need
tape
to find
somewhere,
some VHS tape somewhere.
Yeah, shopping channel. So presenting stuff around that. Owned a few shops and moved to London as well. Yeah, they met there.
Oh, no way. Okay. And I mean, speaking to your mum beforehand, she mentioned that she had you that tiny bit later.
Yeah.
So having older parents, they're then able to take you around because maybe their career, they're that bit further in their careers. What did it mean to have your parents with you as you were traveling?
It was really nice. I really enjoyed it. It was a kind of family endeavor.
Did it feel like you were a unit doing it?
A unit, yeah.
And you never felt pressure?
No pressure. I mean, the good thing is, I think it's quite useful that we as a family, we don't have much motorsport knowledge, which is quite nice.
You're just like, okay.
Yeah. I think there's nothing worse as a kid getting advice from your parents. So
okay.
I can imagine if my dad did have some knowledge, it'd be a bit of a clash of interest. I'll do this. No, I know better than you.
That's the thing. I mean, you see it again, kind of, not armchair, but, sideline coaches and their parents shouting at the refs and things like that in, football and rugby and all that. And it's like, mate, either become a coach or a ref or just calm it down.
Yeah, exactly.
Like everybody's a volunteer here, there's nothing worse than somebody, you need to do this, you need to do that. So you never felt that pressure. You
never really felt that pressure, which I'm very thankful for. And
yeah.
It was never like, you need to perform, you need to do this, which was nice.
So what if... I'm sure that you did, when times didn't necessarily go as you would have planned them to, as you would have hoped that they would, there was never any, kind of contact, here's where you need to improve.
Not really. I mean, they trust the people around me. Obviously, people around me had more motorsport knowledge. Of course, if I was being a proper brat, then I'd get slapped on the face, but not literally. But
NSPCC,
metaphorically. But no, I mean, there was no direct input into my racing career, which was quite nice in terms of advice.
So they were literally just there as supporters and as to keep you company and pick you up
to drive me to the track,
to get you to the track, So 11, you've won the what was it called again? The
British Kart
Grand Prix. You must have felt on top of the world.
Yeah, it was cool, but again, it was nothing too serious at that point.
Right.
I enjoyed what I was doing, and it was a bit of fun, really. And that's the main thing. I think that's how I kind of always treated it.
Yeah. 11, you've won that. You're showing real promise. Yeah. The team comes in. Who's the team?
Ricky Flynn Motorsports.
Ricky Flynn?
Yeah. RFM.
I've even heard of that.
Yeah, they've taken... They're arguably the biggest karting team. They're British-based. They've taken Lando Norris through karting. A lot of current F1 drivers, Logan, Sargent... Yeah, a lot.
Right, okay.
A lot through F1, through karting and to F1 after.
Yeah, because I didn't see that in researching you, but I've definitely heard of that, which is just shows some kind of real cut through. Yeah. So you join that team, and then what happens?
So I did 2 years in it's called OK Junior. So in the European World Championship, there's 2 levels. There's OK Junior and OK Senior. Very fast go-karts, upwards of 80, 90 miles an hour. Okay.
Are they bigger circuits, bigger tracks?
Bigger the track's quite similar, but the karts are a lot quicker.
That is madness.
Yeah.
Going 80, 90, knowing, again, I could have a completely different understanding of... I will have a different
They're big go-kart tracks, put it that way.
Right, okay.
They're wide open.
Why? Okay, because some of the hairpinny type ones I've driven...
They're not like team sports.
Yeah.
But they're wide open tracks. They're not massive, but they are, but it's essentially the F1 of karting.
Right.
So like I said, it's supported by the FIA. Yeah. You travel around Europe and sometimes the world. Some of the world championship races are very far away.
So you were traveling such a lot from such a young age.
For karting, I did 2 years of that. I didn't have that much success. I've won a couple of races, but nothing crazy.
What kept you going?
the first year, I think I got quite unlucky. I had quite a bad run of races.
Right.
So I did the second year. I couldn't actually move up to OK Senior. Hoping the year two a bit better. It didn't really go to plan either. And towards the end of the year, I had the option to either move up for the following year when I was 14 to OK Senior, or finish karting and move to cars in a category called Ginetta Juniors, which you can race
Called what, sorry?
Ginetta Juniors.
Right.
You can race at 14.
Okay.
And for me, I felt like I'd learned more than enough in karting.
Right.
I was becoming a bit disillusioned by it all. And,
I mean, that's 6 years of competitive karting.
And not even that, though. There's a lot of luck and eventualities that have to fall your way in karting.
Before we move on, didn't you break your rib?
Yes,
How did you do that?
Actually, just through G-force. It happens quite a lot in karting.
You are joking.
Yeah.
How old were you then?
I was 12. 12.
So what? You're just racing, and then something pops, and you think, "Oh, that hurts."
Yeah. So some of the track. There's one track in the south of Italy called La Conca.
Right.
And it's got this resin on the track. Right. They put on.
What's that? Just to try and keep.
I don't know what it's for, but it's super grippy.
Right.
Like you're stuck. So for example, for some of the taller drivers, that was the first year I went. The next year I was a bit taller. I had to be careful not to flip, to roll, because there was so much grip that the car would just flip. And if you drove at slow speed, you get stuck. As in, if you walked on the circuit, your shoes would get stuck. It was really, really strange. So as you can imagine, the cornering speeds are quite high. It was super bumpy. If you've been in a go-kart, you know that they're quite uncomfortable on your ribs. Yeah. We have rib protectors that are molded to us, which are fiberglass and quite reinforced, but still they can crack. And I hit quite a big curb or a bump, and it did my rib.
Did you know straight away?
No, because throughout the year I'd had bruising on my ribs. Everyone has it. For whatever reason, my ribs were quite weak. I kept suffering with them. So I thought, oh, bad bruise. Didn't think much.
So you
of
kept
it.
racing?
Yeah, I was just on painkillers. My dad had his wisdom teeth out relatively recently to it, so he had the painkillers from that stuff.
Oh, he's just giving you like codeine or something.
I think it was that. So I was on 12-year-old me was on painkillers for the weekend. Couldn't really feel anything. Yeah. Was a bit lightheaded. Anyway, I finished the race and everything, and that was it. And then it wore off on the plane home, and I was like, "Yeah, it's not good."
So you got it checked in.
Got it checked, and it was broken.
I mean, you can't do anything with a broken rib. That's the thing.
You can't breathe.
You can't breathe.
It's
so
awful.
you can't do anything, but also you can't
heal them.
Doctors, medics can't do anything
terrible.
with it. It's just
one of my lower ribs.
It's just got to heal.
Yeah.
Has it happened since?
No, but I've always had shallow breathing since.
No way.
Slightly shallow, yeah. It's getting better over time, but afterwards I just kind of forget to breathe or wouldn't get enough oxygen.
Because it's funny, you think of injury, you think of motorsports, and you think of injury, and you see MotoGP, and you see things like that, and you think, oh Christ, And I mean, you see F1, and you see some of the injuries, and you think more fatal rather than just niggly. Yeah. Again, rugby, you think thumbs and fingers and ankles, as you said. Yeah. And obviously the bigger injuries too, but I've never considered the impact on you from the G-force and the
it's a really annoying one actually, because I had to take quite a lot of time out. I came back actually, I think it was 3 weeks later, so it was okay, but obviously
that's the again, at that age all you want to do is, I remember being injured as a kid, and again all you want to do is play.
I remember the first race back actually, I used like a deep freeze on them basically. It just froze my ribs, so I couldn't really feel them. They were still they were healed, but they were very raw still, so it was hurting when I was driving. So I put a load of padding into the side of my race suit as well as the rib protector, froze them up, and I was good to go.
Nice. I mean, whatever gets you on that track, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Sometimes it's getting into the car.
But honestly, I've broken bones before, but ribs were the one that surprised me, because it just hurts. Yeah.
It just hurts. It's just...
I broke my leg, and that really hurt initially. But once it's in a cast, as long as you don't move it, you're okay. But with ribs, it just hurt all the time.
I bet. It does. Every time you move, every time you breathe.
It's just really frustrating. And then you're always kind of second guessing breathing. And
But did you have a fear, do you think? Or did that bring...
Not really, no. Because it wasn't an accident. I was just driving around and it happened. And it wasn't, it wasn't just me that weekend.
I'm never going back to... Was it La Conca?
Yeah, I went
never going back.
No, I went back the next year. I was fine. So
You did all right.
Yeah, I think once you do them... I don't know if they strengthened after that.
Maybe they do.
I hope so.
Who are your influences, racing-wise?
Not really. I don't really idolise anyone.
Yeah. That's healthy.
Yeah. Maybe Michael Schumacher, I would say, if anyone.
He was winning everything, right?
Yeah, but less so because of his success, but more, I think he brought F1 into the 21st century.
How so?
In the way if you look at when he started his career in the early 90s, it was quite a bit of the kind of old school Playboy F1 where none of the drivers were that fit. Right. They were still passing a lot, and it was like your bravery and talent overrules everything else. But he came in, was much fitter than anyone else, never struggled physically in the race, and that's why initially he was so good. And I think even for Senna it was hard to beat because he was a step above the rest physically. He was more ruthless than many before him, and he kind of brought that mentality into the 21st century.
An athlete's mentality to racing.
And that kind of crossover point, if you look at those 10 years, like 1990 to 2000, there's a really big change in F1 in general.
Oh, really?
And I think he's the driver that's kind of brought that in into the modern age. Because even when he retired in 2012, he was still very contemporary, considering he...
Was it 2012 he retired, was it? Wow, how old was he?
43, I think, yeah.
So, I mean, you can go that bit,
you can go long, but he was still, you class him as a modern driver, fit and well. But just because of the kind of attitude and mentality, I think he brought into
wonderful.
the sport.
I love, the notion of leaving something in a better state than you found it.
Yeah.
So, like Schumacher absolutely did that.
I think he turned it more into an elite sport.
Right.
I think before it was like your Nigel Mansell, super strong, big, but they never really did any gym training. It was just like, he's strong, he's brave.
Yeah, right.
He's a good driver.
Was it like a macho thing, do you think?
Yeah, I think so. And he came in as this young German, really, really focused, paying attention to all the minor details, and it paid off.
So you are 14. You're like done with karts now. How do you get into cars, and what do you do? Where do you go from there?
Yeah, so a bit of a different decision. Most people stay an extra year in karting.
I mean, that's possibly an advantage for you to get out then.
Yeah, I preferred it.
Give you that bit more experience.
A bit more experience in a car. It's not a single seater, so it doesn't have downforce, but it is something.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I actually met someone who's working with me still to this day, Kieran, who's my manager, mentor, driver, coach, raced into a reasonable level himself. Came across him and we started working together mainly for the transition to cars because it's quite a different approach to driving. The driving styles are quite different.
When you say cars, what kind of cars are we talking here?
A Ginetta. So it's like it's a British car. Right. Essentially, it's a saloon car. Right. They run road car tires. Right. So they're really fun to drive. Yeah. Quite low power. They got around 100 horsepower, but they're really good fun for racing. Yeah. You learn a lot. Yeah.
Okay. So how long did you stay in a Ginetta?
Just 1 year.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So I did 1 year.
And you were racing, or were you just learning?
Racing the whole year.
Racing the whole year.
Yeah. All UK circuits.
Mm-hmm. How'd you get on?
Finished second.
In the what is the championship?
In the Ginetta Junior Championship?
The Ginetta Junior. Yeah. Right. So you finished second. I mean. Yeah. That's incredible in the first year. Presumably.
Yes, I would have wanted to win, but
yeah, of course. What was the margin? Was it a point basis?
It was quite big in the end, but I had a bit of a strange year. I switched teams midway through. Okay. We had some issues, and then suddenly
got a lot of politics involved in
this.
There
are a lot of politics in motorsport.
Is it? I want this for you. You might not want that for you.
Teams operate as a business. Yeah. So they're
so you're paying to race as well, right?
Yeah.
I mean, how much are we talking at this stage?
And this is going to sound quite crude, but it was a lot cheaper than karting. It was around 100 grand a year. Yeah. It was a lot cheaper than karting. Yeah. A lot cheaper than.
I think let's get that out now. This is a bloody expensive thing to do, and it's for many prohibitively expensive to do. Okay, it's
crazy.
Let's not. I don't want some kid watching this sat in the way that I possibly grew up, thinking I'm going to be in the F1 one day. Yeah. It's like, let's be honest, you're probably not. It's
an incredibly inaccessible sport.
That's right. So I think most people that have a love for motorsport won't necessarily even know that. They won't necessarily know, and so it's. I think it's just being honest and like there is a crassness to talking about money, but also there's a necessity sometimes,
And the bare bones of motorsport is if you can pay for your drive, you'll be in the car.
Right. Okay. But then it's what you do when you're in the car.
Exactly.
And that's the thing here is it's not like. If I paid my way into England rugby and I was, 10% as fit as everybody else and and I couldn't throw myself around the pitch, you're going to get found out very quickly.
And it's the same in motorsport. You still get found out. And truthfully, I complain about how expensive it is now, but if you're starting now compared to when I started, let's say in 2014, it's even more expensive.
It is.
It's double,
Wow,
probably
okay.
double at some levels.
No way. So you said it was more expensive than karting. What's karting?
Karting can be upwards of over 200 grand a year.
Wow. Okay.
International karting.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So these teams, I mean, they're real businesses.
They're real businesses. They won't make much of a profit, to be honest. I mean, because they're transporting lorries around, paying for all the mechanics,
loads of travel.
You go through a lot. One of the thing people don't understand in motorsport, especially at the professional level, these teams, is let's say you buy a car and you will go for a track day. You use the same set of tires for half a year or something, go through some fuel. But for us, there's so many expendables. Yeah. So we were going through engines every weekend, 4 new engines a weekend, because they were so highly tuned that they'd essentially seize after a certain mileage. So on a 4-day weekend, the Thursday was a test day, and we'd spend the morning just running in new engines. And after the weekend, it'll be used. You send them back.
What do they do? They refurb? Do they like?
Yeah, essentially it's a rebuild.
Right. Okay.
So in karting, obviously the margins are so slim.
Yeah.
So you want to maximize as much carbon build-up on the piston head as possible.
Okay, I'm mechanically thick. All right. Okay. So bear with me.
So the more carbon build-up on the piston head.
Yeah.
From running the engine.
Yeah.
The more compression you get out of it.
Right, okay.
So a lot of it is managing that.
Compression is good.
I'm joking.
Compression is good. I know that much. Yeah.
But then there's a limit because you can get caught cheating.
Right, okay.
There's all these different carburetors.
I love this with sport. It's the fine margins. It's the fine margins.
And even in the team, we'd have access to 5 different brands of carburetors.
Right.
They'd have 4 different models per carburetor. Okay. Whilst we were driving, we would actually adjust how lean it was, how rich it was, how the fuel from the inside the go-karts.
When you say how lean and rich, what does that mean? Sorry?
Essentially how much air is going into the fuel.
Right, okay, got it.
So you could close the carburetor and open it. Yeah. So we'd be constantly doing that as drivers as well. So it's all kind of maximising everything.
These are the differences between winning and not winning.
Exactly. So that's where the cost comes from. Okay. The teams would replace the go-karts every 2 races with a new one.
Are they transparent with how they spend the money?
Yeah, you see it quite quickly.
You know it, okay.
We're doing full data analysis. They've got analysis systems with dashboards on the karts. Yeah. They download. We're looking at it with engineers.
So, I mean, you said you're quite mechanically minded, thanks to your dad as well. So you care about this stuff. So, this isn't just a case of, if that was me, I'd be like, right, just put me in the bloody car and I'll drive it. Now, I don't know how long that would last, but you're quite like, no, everything matters here.
I think you get it through being in motorsport because everyone's quite similar. Yeah. And the best teams, the most thorough ones, the ones who put the most attention to detail in.
You've come second in the Ginetta Championship.
Yeah.
Championship.
There you go.
Where do you go from there?
I went to British F4.
Who came first, before we jumped?
A driver called James Headley.
James Headley, is he still racing?
No, I don't think so.
Why?
Most likely run out of money.
Yeah. I mean, cost. Yeah. I mean, do you see that? Do you see that drop off of people? Yeah.
It's less the drop. It's drop off of people, but also at some point, it's all the people who can't afford it left, and then it gets harder and harder.
At that stage, that isn't just remortgaging your house necessarily. When you're talking 200 grand, 100 grand here, most people don't have that to just pull out. So are you getting funding, or is it all family at that?
The majority for all drivers is family. Right. You'll get some sponsorship if you're lucky. It'll be out of generosity rather than anything else. Yep. One of the biggest helps and contributors is driver academies. So luckily I'm with Williams. Yeah. They help tremendously financially.
As a percentage, what do they contribute?
I can't fully say in public, but but it's a lot towards the season, right? Which is very useful. Yeah. And certain academies vary.
So almost, that's like you said about getting an art scholarship. It's like almost winning a scholarship, right? Thing, because it's prohibitive for many otherwise, so many will need that.
Exactly. I mean, no one will fully fund your season, but there'll be people that help for sure.
I should say as well, in researching this, nobody's winning any money. There aren't prizes. There aren't, I mean, even, you were just about to get into F4 when you were 14, 15. 15, yeah. 15. F4, 3-2, you're not winning money, right?
No.
Which, again, most people won't know that. I've spoken to, spoke to a boxer in the first series. And I think, when you're a pro boxer, undefeated pro boxer, I've won this, I've won that, people are like, wow, you must be coining it. You must be doing brilliantly. He's paying to box at that point, and relying on the gratitude, on the, as you rightly said, the kindness of sponsors and the generosity and all those things. You're not winning money at that point, but you're an F4. Where do you go from there?
So British F4, for reference, F4 is split into different regions. So there's a British F4, there's an Italian F4, a German F4, French.
What's the best one?
Italian is probably the biggest and the most competitive. It's also the most expensive.
Okay.
Right. Because they do more European tracks. Right. So the way F4 works, you're allowed to do, I think, 2 rounds outside of your country. But it just so happens that Italy has 3 F1 tracks, basically. Right. F1 grade tracks.
Oh, okay.
Whereas the UK has Silverstone, that's it.
Right.
So a lot of people go to Italian F4. I did British with a team that I knew quite well.
Who was that?
Carlin.
Yeah.
And yeah, I had a good year. Finished second again.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Very, very close.
I mean, you must be happy with that. Like at
the time, I was really disappointed, to be honest, because it was a really close year.
Right. And who won that one?
A driver called Luke Browning.
Okay.
He's in F3 now, also with Williams. It was a really close year. I was actually going to win the championship in the last race, and then a red flag got called. So they stopped the race.
Right.
And because of the point they stopped it, half points were awarded.
Right.
So I went from winning it by 4 points to losing it by 3.5.
Okay.
So
that's incredibly upsetting.
You can see at the time where I was with.
Yeah. So I mean, I think you're right. You're okay to feel aggrieved by that.
Yeah.
I'd have been so pissed off. So yeah.
But it was a year I enjoyed. My first year in single seaters, so cars, slicks and wings, downforce cars, which was cool. The next year I went to British F3, so an intermediate step between.
Is that you need to be invited into?
No.
Okay.
Provided you have to be 16 plus,
right?
And again, provided you can pay the bills.
And what's F4 annually? What's F3 annually?
So British F3 is an intermediate step between F4 and F3.
Yeah.
So it's because it's based in the UK, it's actually pretty similar cost to F4, which was quite nice.
Okay.
So F4 was around 300 grand, and I think British F3 was around 350.
Right. Okay.
Which is quite reasonable. There are European alternatives that are 600 and 700 for those steps, but the UK was a lot cheaper.
So for you, it was, I think I'm ready for F3. Is there a step up in quality?
Cars a lot faster. Cars faster. I had the option to do a series in Europe called Formula Regional, which is an in-between kind of step again between F4 and FIA F3, but British F3 we chose in the end.
Okay. So what made you choose it?
Main thing actually was the team relationship I had with Carlin. I had a good year with them. I was able to take my engineer from F4 with me through to British F3, which I was happy about.
Nice.
And I knew a lot of the circuits as well, which I was happy to.
It's all the same circuits, is it?
Yeah, because it's based in the UK.
Yeah, that makes sense. So where are you racing? Like where are
Silverstone, Donington, all the main UK circuits, Alton Park, which is quite unique because a lot of those circuits are very narrow, very small for those fast cars.
Are they noticeably bigger, the cars?
Not much bigger, but around 10 seconds lap faster.
Wow. Okay. That's even an idiot gets that's significant. And I mean, like, what sort of speed is F3?
British F3 was, so there's a step because British F3 is a lot slower still than FIA F3.
Okay.
So that was around 250 horsepower, so around 150 miles an hour.
Yeah, and you're 14.
16
at this point. 16, my apologies. Yeah. 16 at this point, still at school, on race days, flying around at 150 miles an hour. Yeah. That's wonderful. I mean,
that's fun.
Did you, as you're doing it, are you enjoying it? Are you like, do you love that speed? Is that
not really, to be honest? I don't really enjoy it. No, but it's true. I don't really enjoy driving.
You don't?
No, I mean, not really. I enjoy winning.
Yeah,
there's a difference. In the same way that I'm sure if you asked a marathon runner, do you enjoy running? Yeah, they'd probably go, not really.
How long are you in the car for?
Not too long, around half an hour.
Right,
in a race. So it's not terrible.
So you, like, as you're doing it, you're not getting enjoyment out of it.
Not really, because there's always a pressure to perform. And
what age did that flip for you? At what age did it go from enjoying?
I think even in karting when I was 12, 13.
Yeah,
you want to perform.
Why do you care about winning?
Because I hate losing.
Okay, why?
Because if I set out to do something, I want to win it. You know? So if I win, I'm not particularly ecstatic.
If you win, you're not ecstatic.
No, not really. I'm content because I'm like, well, it's a race, so I should win.
Yeah.
So if I win, I'm like, good. We've done everything okay.
Yeah.
It might still be, and if we win and it's not easy or there's still something I won't be.
You know, Zach, for the purpose of this, I want to pull it out of you, but I know exactly what you mean. There's a feeling of like I want to be the best I can possibly be at all times, and if I get there, because I mean I've in and around PR, I've won various awards. My book became the best-selling book. You know, I had the UK's #1 PR site. All these things in the industry, which obviously doesn't matter outside of the industry. Nothing does anything. Like it doesn't fill me up.
No.
None of that stuff does anything other than make me think, well, I should do that. You know, because I'm capable. Yeah. Everybody else is like, oh, don't you feel proud of yourself? I'm like, not for a second.
No, not really.
You know,
yeah.
and I mean, with this is the interview. It's the first thing I've done where I leave and I feel like I've done a good job.
Yeah.
You know, because and it's weird 'cause it's just talking, but it's trying to understand what is it that doesn't make me feel proud of myself, and where does that come from? Yeah. So I mean, for you, do you feel proud of anything you've done?
Proud, not really, to be honest, because it's nothing. I'm not outdoing myself. Does that make sense?
Yeah. That makes perfect sense.
I don't really like to gloat about it. It's just,
yeah.
I mean, we all strive to be the best, right? And I'm not saying I'm the best.
No, most don't. Zach is the thing, and that's the thing.
I think in elite sports, I think, for example, it's an interesting one actually because football confuses me a bit.
Okay.
In the way they celebrate a goal so much.
Yeah. It's like
really
you're doing your job.
Yeah. I'm a bit. I know it's a bit of a rare occurrence, but for example, in rugby, you score a try. Well done, mate.
Cool. Yeah, you back the other end. Yeah,
line up again. Yeah. Whereas football, it's like I don't know if it's a show thing, but it always confuses me a bit.
It's entertainment, isn't it?
And that's what it is. If you win the match, fair enough. But there's more celebration for a goal than winning the match.
That's very true.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I guess it's a spectacle. I guess they see it as
it's a spectacle.
You know, and that's the thing, isn't it? But no, I'm fascinated by this. So, have you always felt like that? Have you always felt like this? And I need to.
Not really, because when I first started, I wasn't particularly amazing.
Right.
I got better with time.
Yeah.
So, but once you start achieving more, then you know your kind of baseline expectation changes.
Right.
So my expectation, I know what I'm capable of. My expectation is to win.
Yeah.
So that's not to say I'm always unhappy if I don't win.
Yeah.
I can be happy with a race or content with something, but at the same time, if I do win, it's not like a massive thing.
Oh. Isn't it Ali that said, you know, that he hated every second of training, every second of boxing, but, you know, what he didn't hate was, you know, what it then meant for him for the rest of his life.
Exactly.
You know, I can't remember the exact quote, but I think it is something along the lines of, you know, I hated every second of training. Do you hate it?
No, I don't hate it, but it's more, I think losing gives you the motivation more than anything else.
Yeah. What is it that losing, what do you feel when you lose?
Yeah, because you're angry, you're not necessarily angry, but I'm just disappointed. So, so you strive to do better, you know? I think it's a good thing to never really be that satisfied with something.
I agree entirely. Yeah. What it does though, and I've said this to my partner, and I'm trying to come to terms with it again. I'm much older than you now. Not now. I'm much older than you. like I'm all of a sudden overtaking you. I don't think I'm ever going to be happy. No,
but I'm fine with that.
And that's okay, right? Because then you know it keeps you striving. It keeps you moving.
It's miserable all the time, but
it's funny
stop moaning. It's fine.
Yeah.
I'm moaning.
Yeah, that's not. There's not a misery to it. There's a, you know, nothing's ever enough, and it's not financial. It's not that. It's, you know, it's I don't feel like I've done enough yet.
Yeah.
You know, until this is, we were talking about, you know, some podcasts earlier on. Until this is the #1 podcast, I'm not going to be happy.
Yeah.
You know, so I put everything in place
to make. When it is, you won't be.
And when it is, you watch. You know, because
it's the same as everything, isn't it? You want one you can't have, and then once you get it, you're like, oh, I want more.
Yeah, I want to be the world's. I want to, you know, where's Rogan? I want, you know, but you know, and there is a sadness to it almost. You know, I can see externally people look in and they go, oh God, isn't that really sad that you know? But for me, it's and this is fascinating because talking to people like you, it makes me feel understood. Sounds so corny, but I'm like, I know exactly how you feel when you say, you know, I don't enjoy it. You know, I want to win. I'm like, I get it. Yeah. You know, I really understand.
It's a job, isn't it? And not in the sense that it's a job I'm trying to impress my employer. It's all the pressure is self-pressure. It's not from anyone else.
So where does that come from for you?
Wanting to win. It's simple as that, because I expect to win, and also I think because it's an individual sport, right?
Yeah. It's all on you.
I think
all your performance.
I think it's a bit different. Yeah. You know, if you don't perform, it's a bit embarrassing. You're like, well, yeah.
Is that what you feel? Do you feel embarrassed when you don't perform well?
Yeah, it's just like, this isn't very good. I can do better than this. Whereas I think in a team sport, not necessarily, but I think in a team sport, it's a bit different.
Yeah.
It's easy to sit back and go, as a team, we didn't play well today.
Yeah. You can always say, I might have missed that tackle, but, you know, that happened over there.
Yeah, there was 20 tackles in the game. Whereas with an individual sport, I think that's individual sports, the sports you the most emotion, like a tennis match, for example, and it's just you, and any mistake is straight on you.
But that's the wonderful thing about sport as well. Again, exactly. I love UFC. Yeah. I love...
Because I was really bad in team sports.
Right.
I wasn't bad, but I was never really that engaged.
Okay.
If that makes sense, because there's never that kind of pressure.
Yeah.
I felt.
I get it. Did you play any other sports competitively? Kind of. You said about tennis. Did you play any?
I did a bit of tennis, but just for enjoyment purposes.
What else are you really good at?
I'm quite artistic. I really like graphic design.
Yeah. Do you think you'd have done that if you hadn't?
Not really, but it's something I enjoy.
Okay.
More than anything.
When you say graphic design, what sort of things do you?
Stuff on Photoshop, because I was obviously, as I said, artistic growing up.
Yeah.
Kind of gave it up a bit after a while.
Yeah. I mean, your
just
time...
painting around, and it's not very fun. Yeah. And then kind of switched online, started learning Photoshop and stuff like that, and I really enjoyed it. I can implement it quite well into my racing, so I design my own helmets.
You do?
Stuff like that.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Which is useful.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
And something I enjoy. So, that's the main thing.
Yeah, so just art.
I'm not going to say I'm really good, but it's something I've...
But you think if I... Yeah. I mean, because we were talking before we started about music, and you said, I kind of wish I was musical, but, I'm not, so I don't even want to try.
Yeah.
Have I paraphrased? Have I gone too far?
No, I mean, if I want to try a lot, if I have to... Imagine me having lessons every day for 6 months or more. Yeah. That's putting a lot of effort into what, though? If I end up being just an average magician?
I mean, you could be an average magician, who knows?
Musician. Then it doesn't really achieve much,
Yeah, I understand. Because
I'm like, at the end of it, I'm like, I've done all this.
You don't get the satisfaction. Actually, that's an interesting point. So you're not satisfied, or you're not enjoying the practice of driving. You enjoy the winning. So if you're sat there playing a guitar, piano, whatever, do you think you'd enjoy it, or you'd enjoy the fact that you were good at it?
The fact I'm good at it.
It's fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah, you don't enjoy... I believe it's completely... You don't enjoy anything you're bad at.
Interesting. I'm trying to think now, is there anything that I'm not very good at that
Especially when you're compared to other people.
Yeah.
Like I probably quite enjoy playing the guitar if I could play it somewhat on my own.
Yeah.
But then...
Is that external pressure, or is that...
No, I think it's just like, I could do a lot better than that. It's annoying. Like...
I love this. Yeah. No, Zach is fascinating, really. And like... I don't know if you've ever really thought about that mentality that you have.
No, but I think it's like, for example, if in racing, if I had to take so much coaching, so much advice just to finish 15th, that's it. Your ceiling is that.
Yeah.
So I think there's no point in really pursuing something that hard if your ceiling is not there.
So if at 14, 15, 16 you weren't coming second and and winning races,
I would have stopped.
You would have stopped.
Yeah, but I even say that now. Yeah. If I have a couple of if for whatever reason this year doesn't go to plan, or next year I have a bad season, I'd happily hold my hands up and say, look,
and be done with it.
Yeah, I'm not good enough. That's fine.
Do you think you are good enough?
I think so. Yeah, but if the time comes, I think it's stupid to carry on just frustrating yourself.
Yeah. F3. How did that season go?
British F3 I won, which was nice.
Yeah.
Not really too much to add. It was really smooth.
You're like, hated being in the car, loved winning.
Yeah. No, I like being in the car, but it was a really smooth year. I think nothing really went wrong. Maybe 1 or 2 races went wrong, but that was it.
Right. Okay.
Probably one of the not easiest years, but like.
Did you feel external kind of media and fan pressure and things like that?
Not really.
No,
it was fine.
Yeah, because I mean, at that stage, it's starting to look like the season's going really well. Expectation builds on any sports person. Yeah. So, did you not feel that? Because you were young.
Not really. I just kind of kept doing the same job every weekend, really. Yeah. And it was quite a really nice year, to be honest.
I read there was you were racing in Budapest.
That was the year after.
That was the year after.
Yeah.
Okay, so what happened in that year?
To British F3. Yeah. And then I went on to FIA F3.
Right. Yeah.
Which is then international F3. So the car's a lot quicker, 400 horsepower. Yeah. And
And you're coming into this with a bit of a name, presumably, like, there's this British kid.
I just got signed by Williams as well in the winter of 2021.
What was that like?
That was cool.
How did they approach you?
They approached me after winning GB3 or British F3.
Yeah.
We started getting in contact.
Were you still with
Carlin?
Yeah,
still with Carlin. Yeah. Part of the deal was I stayed with Carlin for 2022 in F3.
Okay. Right. Okay.
As they had a bit of a partnership with them.
Who at Williams approaches you?
At the time, it was the team principal and sporting director who were running the... Williams Racing, yeah.
I mean, that must have felt great.
That was cool.
Yeah.
For sure.
So you're 16, 17.
Yeah, but I don't really get too caught up on that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I know. I'm just putting it in context of...
I think it was more like a bit of a realisation, like, okay, there might be a route in here properly. Because until that point, you can win what you can win and everything. Yeah. But the truth is, unless you have extortionate funding or you're quite lucky, if you're not in an academy, you don't really have a shot.
Had you considered your progression through this and thought, this is what I want to do with my life at this stage?
I think so.
Yeah. So then when Williams come along, it's like validation of that fact, I guess. Yes,
and it gives you a bit more of an insight and go, okay, well, if I do my job, then potentially there's an F1 seat at the end of the road.
And that's what they said. They said...
No, but that's what it's inferred.
Yeah.
Because without being in an academy, you're not going to get an F1 seat ever.
Got it. In any academy.
Without being in a driver academy, you won't get an F1 seat.
Right.
Because let's say you win F2.
And there are 10 teams, right?
10 teams.
And every team has an academy?
No, I think 7 do.
Right. Okay.
6 or 7 do.
Right. Okay.
But let's say you win F2 with no academy.
Yeah.
The F1 teams aren't going to pick you.
Right.
Because they don't know about you, they haven't got the info.
Isn't there a fact that if you win F2, you can't race in F2 again?
Yeah. All series.
In all series? From what, F4 all the way up?
Yeah.
So you won British F3, you couldn't race again in that. Pardon?
Even in karting, everything.
Oh, wow, okay. I can't. It's like the US president thing, you get 2 terms. It's like, you proved yourself,
sense,
you need to make room for everybody else.
They're feeder series there.
Yeah.
Let's say you progress through the ranks.
It makes sense, yeah. You British F3 won, you're in FIA F3. How are you doing that season?
Tricky year.
Why?
As a team, we really struggled. Carlin were struggling that year.
How many races are in the team?
3 drivers in the team and 12 staff for those 3 drivers at the track. That's actually done by regulation. We're not allowed any more, which is quite tricky actually to manage all those people. But tricky year. I had some good races here and there. Silverstone was a good round. Budapest, as you mentioned, was
so you won comeback of the year for that.
Comeback of the year. That was
talk me through that.
Yeah, a bit of a tricky one. It was actually a year I quite enjoyed because although we were off the pace, it also meant I had nothing to lose all year.
Right.
So at any given chance, we took a gamble.
Yeah.
I remember early in the year, actually, in Imola in Italy, I was really disappointed because with the qualifying, it was wet, it was drying. Yeah. I made the gamble with me and my engineer to put slick tyres on.
Right. How do you know when to do that sort of thing? A lot
of it comes from racing in the UK.
Right.
Because when you're testing,
it's always
wet.
Yeah.
It's awful. And always like 7 degrees. So it takes the whole day to dry. So that transition phase between wet to dry is something you get quite good at doing. Mm-hmm. And we made the gamble to switch, and it didn't end up paying off because there was a red flag and I had to go back onto the wet tyres. Anyway, at that point I was like, I'm sure it would have worked. Me and my engineer were like, I'm sure it would have worked. We would have done pole, but we weren't in the end. And then came the time in Hungary. It was a mixed weather weekend again. Mm-hmm. We were going to the track was quite wet. But it was drying. The plan was to start the race on slicks anyway. Mm-hmm. So we were confident on that. Probably would have been one of the only cars. It rained to the point where it was definitely wet. I think I started 22nd because I had a mechanical issue in qualifying with the car. And I was running around, I think, 16th at the time. And it was getting quite dry and the sun was coming out.
And how long is this race?
They're around 45 minutes.
Okay, yeah. So you could see it starting to turn.
We were starting to dry. There were about 10 laps to go, and I was like, let's pit.
Yeah.
Let's go for slicks. And the car in front of me did it, and we're the only 2. And we came in, and you don't really do pit stops in F3, so it's quite rare.
Right.
But quite a good pit stop came out. At this point, I don't know, I was around a minute behind the leaders or something. Okay. And it suddenly came to us. The track was starting to dry quite quickly. Yeah. And at some points we had 15 seconds a lap advantage on the wet runners. Because as the track dries on the wets actually get slower because they start.
Right. So you're picking up 15 seconds a lap.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So as soon as the track starts to dry, the slick tyres are quicker in the straights because they have less resistance. Yeah. They're better in the corners. They've got more contact patch. They hold temperature. And the wet tyres, basically, they're a really soft compound. Yeah. Obviously designed to work in wet conditions. Mm-hmm. So as soon as it dries, they basically turn to kind of chewing gum. And they just start melting.
Oh, okay.
So that you have no grip. So actually, with wets, you're quicker when it's wet. When it's wet.
How did that feel as you're passing people?
It was quite funny, actually. Yeah, it was quite funny. But it's still a race I'm a bit annoyed about because I got to 4th in the end.
Right, I mean, 4th from 16.
Yeah, well, 30th at one point after pitting.
Yeah, of course.
So I passed 26 cars in, I think, six laps.
Wow, okay.
And
you said that was your choice.
That was my choice. It was a gamble.
You
know, if I wasn't running at the front, I wouldn't. If I was running at the front, I probably wouldn't have done it. But,
so where do you reckon you'd have finished if you were just on wet still?
16th, 17th. Yeah. There was no chance of us.
See, that's the stuff that me as not even a casual fan, is somebody that knows, has an understanding of, but not, possibly the appreciation for the calls in those moments.
Yeah, it's quite a good sport in that sense. A lot of it is just on instinct, and even in racing situations, making risky moves, you don't have to. You shouldn't think about it. Just go with.
You just do it.
What feels right. Yeah.
And is that? Are you coached? Like, are you taught?
Not really. I think the most important thing is having your kind of autopilot take over for most of it.
Yeah.
So you're not thinking about stuff.
I mean,
it all happens so
that
quickly.
was a question I had actually. Is do you think? I know you said that you got your engineer in your ear. Are you thinking as you're driving? So your brain never goes to I'm going out later. I'm
We'll think about that. Yeah.
Yeah, you will.
For dinner and yeah.
Yeah,
seriously, you're not thinking about driving.
A couple 100 miles an hour, and you're
not thinking about driving. The only time you do it, for example, skipping forward a bit, but now in F2, in our feature race, we've got pit stop strategy, and it gets quite confusing quite quickly.
Right.
So you're thinking a lot actually in that race, but more about pit strategy and what happens if there's a safety car and how to save your tires, and that it gets a bit more confusing then.
Okay, so you're thinking about the body of the car, though. You're thinking like mechanically and.
But driving wise, not really.
Yeah.
But with but just in F2 in the feature race, you're thinking about pace of others on track, and there's quite a lot of actually team to driver communication in that race.
Okay.
Trying to keep you updated on.
So not like that you can speak for other people, but do you think that's common?
I think so. Yeah.
Do you think people are just like? Because I would never have considered. Because I grew up with like Colin McRae Rally. Yeah. Right. There was a game and it's phenomenal. And it's all easy over left one. Or I'm probably getting it wrong, but where it tells you the corners, the turns. And I think you could have no room for anything in your brain other than what your guy's telling you, because you die if there's.
I think for them it's a bit different.
So I guess
the track. So
Can you see the track if you close your eyes? Can you see a track?
Yeah. All of them. Yeah.
So how many tracks have you raced on, do you think?
I don't know, 50, 60 or more.
Right.
100 probably.
So, and that's the same for all drivers, do you think? You think that they're... Because I've got
Even tracks I raced, the last time I've been to them was 2016, I can still remember.
As in...
Pretty much.
Do you see them top down? Do you see...
like from driving.
You do?
Yeah.
So... Have you played any? And I don't want to keep bringing it back to video games, but I'm interested because there's there is a parallel. The idea of reaction time and things like that. Have you played like Silverstone on on a racing game? For instance? Is it exactly the same?
Depends on the game.
Okay, what's good? What's the best game?
iRacing is quite good.
Yeah,
it's PC based.
Right,
but that's like I do quite a lot of sim racing myself actually.
Yeah,
esports, and that's where everything's hosted on iRacing. And their tracks are laser scanned, and they're pretty
Is
good.
there a big streaming kind of audience around esports in terms
there
of
was.
racing?
It's not as big as it was.
Right.
In lockdown, it was huge.
Yeah, I bet, because it's all anybody can watch, right?
Everyone was racing online. All the F1 drivers. There were championships hosting virtual races, so it was massive.
I bet there was some cash in that as well. Some serious. Did you do it?
I did it. I was racing F4 at the time. We did a virtual championship. Yeah,
wow.
I finished second in that as well, which was a bit depressing.
But I mean, still,
second to the same driver.
Did that just kind of keep you sharp and keep you?
Honestly, there was nothing else to do.
Yeah, I mean,
so I spent all day, every weekend in there.
How was lockdown for you?
I loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why?
Because I was in the countryside.
Yeah.
It was warm. I could stay outside.
That April, that May.
I was homeschooled
beautiful.
I was homeschooled,
yeah.
So all the teachers still came to my house, and there was nothing really changed. We just carried on.
Oh wow! Okay.
Which was we had a kind of social circle.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed it.
At what point did you become homeschooled?
Year 9.
Oh, okay. So you then didn't go into Cheltenham College anymore.
No. Then I was homeschooled at home, but done the Victorian way, let's say. So.
How do you mean?
Lessons 9 to 5, but teachers coming to the house.
Wow,
had like a full schedule and
9 to 5.
9 to
Is that what it is in Cheltenham College?
Pretty much, yeah.
Wow, okay.
9 to 5. Yeah. I did Saturdays. I did weekends.
Yeah.
I did everything. I did my GCSEs a year early.
Right.
So I had more time to focus on A levels and then A levels.
Oh, so did you finish your A levels a year early then?
No.
Right.
I didn't actually finish them in the end because I had 3 races across my exams.
So you
got a written note saying I'd done my mocks.
Okay.
Yeah.
So did you get your mock score as your A-level
it's
score?
like a external
effectively
circumstances card, basically.
Right.
Where if you had a long-term illness or something like that,
Yeah.
you wouldn't need to retake your A-levels 3 years later. Yeah.
That makes sense. So you have your A-levels, but
Technically,
effectively,
yeah.
like you didn't do the same
actually
test that everybody else did.
Yeah.
I mean, cool.
Yeah. GCSEs, everything. No, it's quite cool.
Yeah. And so was uni ever an option?
No, never.
Never considered it. Didn't want
It
it.
would never work.
Yeah. I mean, it
Because I
just
would
wouldn't,
just
would it?
yeah, we would, yeah.
Yeah.
I give myself student debt for something I was half the time there for.
Yeah.
It wouldn't work.
Yeah, no.
I might go one day, but I don't think so.
Yeah.
It'd be more so for a crash course on something, perhaps.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, and I guess this
seminar
is
or something.
pure focus. This is where you need
exactly.
to focus. So F3, FIA, the year with the Budapest comeback of the year. Where did you finish that year?
11th in the standings.
Okay.
Which for the team was actually very good.
Okay.
I think I scored 54 points.
Right.
I think the team, our three cars, scored 56. So
Okay.
it was the best year they've had. It was probably one of my better years in terms of performances.
Nice.
It was a lot
I
of
guess you've
points.
got Williams kind of looking at you
Yeah.
throughout the year, right?
Exactly, and they were happy
you want
with
to
the
perform,
year.
make sure that you. So they were happy.
They were happy with the year.
Yeah, great. So F2. Actually, before we go on,
Did a second year F3.
how much talking how much it costed to do each one? What we talking for that?
F3, FIA F3 is 1 million plus.
Right.
A year.
Wow. Okay.
Some drivers are paying a lot more. 1.5, 1.6.
Why would they pay more?
Because at F3 level and F2 level, there are probably 50 drivers for 30 seats.
Okay.
So it becomes a bidding war.
It really does.
Yeah. And the top teams are more expensive than the worst teams.
Okay.
There's quite a big difference between the best teams and the worst.
Yeah.
Second year drivers, if you've done a first year, you get your seat cheaper the next year because
Right.
you're a known quantity.
What kind of percentage are we talking? What kind of discount?
Honestly, it completely depends. Depends on who you are, what team you go with, who you know. It's
Okay.
massively.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're talking a mil to
Minimum,
race.
yeah.
Minimum, yeah. So you're in your second year of FIA F3.
Yep.
How did that one go?
Finished second again. Yeah. You call me Mr. P2. Finished second. Quite a complicated year at the beginning, but then got myself together towards the end and had a good last half of the season.
Do you have like rivals? Like do you get in your head with other people?
No, I think it's quite useful not to have any. To be honest, otherwise you get yourself worked up.
Do you even think about other people?
Yeah, you do. You have a mental note of everyone, and
do, so
everyone drives slightly differently. Everyone races slightly differently.
Right. So
There
you
are some
know
pers-
who's who.
Yeah, there are some people who are complete pushovers, so it's just quite easy to race them. No, it's true. Some people are overly aggressive. And you learn your way through.
I love that idea that you're like, okay, that's the person in front of me.
Yeah.
Cool, I know how to take this.
It's true. And you see it in F1 as well.
Again, just to bring it back to something I can probably relate to. You're on the rugby pitch and you see a kid and you see somebody,
flatten
and
him.
you see something, you think, okay, I've got you.
Yeah. Exactly.
I mean, Tyson used to talk about, Mike Tyson used to talk about, he'd see it in somebody's eye. He's like, I know I'm beating you. I know I'm beating you because I can see that chink in your armour.
Yeah. So it's the same, and some people have more to fight for, and you learn it all. Yeah.
That's incredible. I mean, do you become friends with any of them?
Acquaintances, maybe. Not
you'll
I've
nod
never
your
been
head.
able to be like close friends with anyone I raced against because there's always a chance you'll crash into them or vice versa. So.
Yeah. I mean, on the note of friends,
It's good to have a healthy relationship with your teammates.
right?
Teammate or teammates.
And I guess but you're still competitive.
Yeah, you're competitive, but you spend so much time with them.
Yeah.
It's not healthy
If
you hate them. Yeah.
So, how do you make time for friends, relationships, that sort of thing?
It's not so bad. I mean, you got to stop think. I try not to think about it, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because it's my choice to do this,
Yeah. Do you have
But
any
it's
friends?
not too bad. Yeah, I got friends. And everyone's quite accommodating. Yeah. Some are for the racing world, some are not. But yeah.
Do you like having friends that aren't in the racing world so you can kind of put it to one side?
Yeah,
for a
but
minute?
they still
care, right?
They know.
Well, I mean, the thing is, you're doing great things, right? So
Exactly.
they're going to want to be interested.
Yeah.
Just like some of my friends, have found themselves knowing far more about PR or podcasting or anything like that than they possibly otherwise would care to understand. But that's what happens when
Exactly. Yeah. That's what happens, and it's fine with me.
Yeah. You didn't find it difficult during your schooling years to kind of maintain relationships?
Not really. I mean, homeschool was a bit different because I was.
It's tough, right?
Home,
Yeah.
So I kind of just gave up on that side of things and focused on racing.
Yeah.
But I could sit here and play the victim thing and say, "Oh, I'm sort of sacrifice," but it's my sport. I've chosen to do it.
Yeah. I mean,
I'd be a hypocrite if I went, I haven't got a social life.
Yeah.
My parents turn around to me and go, stop then.
Yeah, you don't have to do this.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you came second in that second year,
Yeah.
FIA F3. And then you're like, right, it has to be F2. And that's
The plan was F2. The plan was actually F2 the year before, but something fell through last minute with the deal.
What fell through?
Bidding wars. Okay. So it's quite... Basically, you wouldn't believe it, but in probably June, July of each year, people are already signing up to the teams for the next year.
Right, okay.
Considering the season finishes in November.
Right.
So that's the kind of thing you've got to get on top of, is that...
So was it somebody kind of gazumped you to get...
Yeah, last minute. And it is what it is. Until something's signed on paper,
Yeah.
you can't rely on anything.
You know, we're getting into elite sport.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean?
It's the same for everyone.
That's exactly that. So it's effectively somebody was paying more for a spot.
Not even that, but times change, and it is what it is.
Yeah. Fair. I mean,
So second year of F3 it wasn't a bad thing at all.
yeah. It's more time in the car,
exactly.
more time on the tracks, more, all of those things.
Yeah.
And you're still young.
Still young.
You know, that's the thing. You're still very young at that stage. So, and but you've got one eye. You're in Williams Academy. What does that give you? What are they? You know, to be in the academy. Are you going to facilities? Are you training with them?
I'm on the simulator a lot back at their factory.
Where's the factory?
Grove in Oxfordshire.
Right. Okay. I mean, that's not a million miles away, right?
No, it's
so
not close. It's
cool.
good. But it's more the wealth of knowledge to rely on. There's a lot of stuff they go through that are quite similar to the problems we have in F2 and F3.
Do they talk to you about personal image and brands?
Yeah,
and
they're
that
quite
sort
good
of
on that
thing?
side of things. But also, I mean, all of us are pretty well educated on it. The F2 and F3 teams.
How do you get to be educated on it?
Through the teams, really. And you learn. There's always horror stories around. So.
Oh yeah, I mean, again, working in PR, I've worked with clients for a long time now, personal and brand, and we constantly talk about media. It's media training and ensuring all the right things. So they will support you with that. And here are the things to do, not do. Do they talk to you about social media?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are your social media do's and don'ts?
I let someone else run it.
You do? Yeah. So you just think, I
have input on it, of course, quite heavy input, but...
Or do you just get a WhatsApp with, this is what we're going with, what do you think?
Yeah, what do you think? Any suggestions and partnerships, stuff like that.
Yeah.
A lot of it is actually more avoiding brand conflicts, etc.
Right.
Because obviously F1 teams have a lot of links with other brands and to tread
Try not
carefully
to
around
upset
that.
people
Yeah,
around
exactly.
that. Yeah.
But no, it's not too bad. It's good to have someone doing it so you're not... I mean, it's easy after a bad race, just want to stay silent.
Yeah.
But sometimes you have to put something...
What is that? Is that an agency or an individual?
Agency,
Yeah? When did you bring them in?
I've always had people doing my social media since F4 times almost.
Yeah.
Or around midway through my F4 season.
Right.
Just because I'm personally not that interested in it.
You're not?
No.
Do you use it personally?
No. I mean, I just scroll on Instagram, but
I
send reels to people, but that's about it.
Yeah. So you're not that fussed.
No,
you're
if I don't know TikTok, none of that stuff. If I could avoid it, I probably would. But you just have to be so careful.
You do, and that's the thing. It doesn't surprise me to hear you say that. And I think
it's not worth me having a private account that likes something a bit controversial.
Oh my God, can you imagine? Like the number of people that would be surprised at the celebrity they adore, or whatever.
Yeah.
They'd be so surprised to know who does and doesn't run their accounts, and it's people like us, people like the people that are running yours that are doing it, and it's like, I want you to think a certain way, and it's beneficial, right? I mean, what do you see the benefit of social media to you as?
For me, it's just exposure, getting your name out there, and at least giving people an idea of who you are.
Yeah. And you don't want any control of that.
Not particularly. I'll have some control, but I don't want it to rely on me.
Yeah.
I mean, I would.
So do they come to you with ideas?
Yeah, ideas, stuff like that. We bounce off each other. Yeah. Ideally, I would want control of it, but I know I wouldn't do a good job of it. Or I wouldn't have the discipline to keep doing it.
Yeah.
Because my focus is racing.
It is a discipline. You do. It's not
I know
job.
some of my friends in racing do everything on their own, do it all themselves, and they have quite big, interactive online presence. But I really couldn't be bothered.
It takes such a lot. It is effort. It is a lot of effort. So, F2 this year. How much did it cost to race in F2?
Double F3.
Okie dokie. So
2 million plus.
2 plus.
Yeah.
Got it. How's it going?
Goodish. No, I had a good round in the first round in Bahrain.
Yep.
And then 2 slightly trickier rounds in Saudi Arabia.
How many rounds are we into?
14 season. 14 in the season, 3 rounds in.
Right. Okay.
So we've done Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, and Australia so far. not going terribly. We've got a bit of work to do on my side, also on the team side.
Yeah.
It's a brand new car for the season in F2.
And you're racing for who this year?
ART Grand Prix, French team, who won the Teams and Drivers Championship last year. Okay. So a very successful team. However, it's a new car for everyone this year in F2.
Right.
New regulations. The cars have around a 5-year cycle. So we've come to the end of a cycle last year, and it's a brand new one for everyone for this year.
Yeah.
Some teams have hit the ground running a bit better than others. We've got a bit of work to do still, but I'm sure we'll get there.
Okay. That sounds very PR.
But I mean, honestly, it's one of those things.
Yeah.
The 2 top teams from last year, I think at the first race were 2 of the slowest.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, it's like
it literally is just learning it. It's just trying to understand.
And some philosophies that worked really well in the old car haven't translated across.
It's incredible to think about the differences. Just, the car can.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, all the drivers are quite close, and the margins are so fine that small differences make all the change.
It makes perfect sense. So, how are you feeling about the season ahead?
Looking forward to it. Like I said, it's a long year.
Do you feel like there's a lot on this season for you? Because we're getting to it now.
Yeah.
F1's right there.
Yeah.
Okay, F1. There are 20 people around the world that race in F1. And I think I read there's only been 775 ever that have raced in F1. So that's where you want to be. So what do you need to do to get there?
Perform as well as I can in F2.
At the end of the year, you're looking at your sheet. 2
or 3 in the championship, really.
Got it. Is that doable?
I don't see why not. I haven't had the best start.
Okay.
But honestly, F2 is such an unpredictable racing series for whatever reason. Always has been, always will be.
Right.
Everyone's so close, you really can't predict every weekend. And the amount of drivers you see have really good starts, end up nowhere, and vice versa. It's a strange series.
What round does it tend to kind of level itself off?
It never does.
Wow, no way, okay.
Always, every round is a new story. And it's not even, it's just one of those things. So the way the cars are quite tricky to drive, a lot trickier than F3 and arguably trickier than F1 as well. Pit stops, there's a lot of rules that just create a bit of chaos and controversy.
Okay.
For example,
does it make it more fun though?
It's more fun for a spectator, maybe not for us drivers.
when we talk about spectators, how many people are coming to these sort of things?
I mean, we're on the F1 weekend, so we support the F1 races.
Yeah.
So for the F1 race, there'll be around 500,000.
Yeah.
But depends how many of them stay for F2. But our grandstands are normally 75% capacity. F1 on a big event will have 400,000. Hospitality.
I had no idea it was that many.
Crazy, yeah.
I guess because I think of football and rugby and you think 80,000, 100,000, you think that's a lot.
Yeah. The thing is, some of the main grandstands are the equivalent of one wing of a football stadium.
Yeah.
One half.
Yeah.
And you've got like 12, 15 of those around the track. Plus all the general admission, plus hospitality suites.
Yeah.
It really brings a lot of people.
That is incredible. So, I mean, you've got loads of eyes on you.
A lot of eyes.
Do you feel it?
Not really, no. You get used to it.
Yeah? And I mean, does it feel, as you're progressing through, do you feel a degree of fame as you're...
Not really, no.
No?
Yeah, no, seriously, no.
Have you got any interest in fame?
Not particularly.
No?
No, it doesn't really appeal to me. I'd rather not be known.
I guess for me, like, a line I've used for a long time, and, I say this to clients, like, fame should always be a byproduct of success, talent, hard work. And what I mean by that is I've worked alongside nothing wrong with reality TV, but people that are desperate to be famous. Yeah. And I think that is always going to end in tears.
Yeah.
I've never seen it not, in fact.
No, yeah.
So it's kind of interesting. I mean, it's I was going to say heartening. Maybe it is heartening to hear you say it's not about that
it's
for
not
me.
About
I want
fame.
to.
If I could race in silence and win races and get paid money to win races, that'd be amazing.
So you'd do it for money. You do it you do it with nobody watching.
Yeah.
If you could win.
Yeah, it's not about the fame really at all. I don't think it is for anyone. Maybe for some drivers it is, but for example, Max Verstappen winning everything now.
Yeah.
You can tell he hates all the.
Does he really?
All the stuff around.
Max has had it for so long though, because I mean, I forget how old he is now, but he started at 17 in F1.
24,
youngest.
25 now.
Right, so 7-8 years of this, and things like Drive to Survive aren't going to have helped because he's going to be even more recognisable outside of the sport and all those things. So I mean, 17 when he came into F1. Is there the chance that you're in F1 next season?
Yes.
That's the hope, right?
That's the hope.
So when does the season start?
March.
If you make it into the F1, you might be in the top 10, possibly youngest to race in F1.
Yeah, it's weird.
That's what that's what I want to get to. Is
Yeah.
So if you're in F1 by then I think you're in the top 10 youngest to ever race. Would that feel like would that feel like success?
I wouldn't really think about the age, to be honest. And it wouldn't really feel like success, no, because as soon as you get there,
success is winning.
Yeah, you want to stay in there as long as possible.
Yeah.
Super cutthroat.
What's the average length of tenure?
If you're a good driver who can hold his own and not get fired.
Yeah.
7 years.
Right.
7 years. Maybe a bit longer, maybe 10. But yeah.
Yeah. I mean, average age is 27.
Yeah.
In F1, so you would be
you're pushing some of them, because the thing is, you got like Alonso is 40.
I think I've got it. 42.
42.
Yeah. Actually, that might even be old.
I think he is 40. You probably know the age is better than I do. I don't.
GP fans. According to this, says that he's 42.
Hamilton's pushing 40 now as well. So there are quite a few older ones that are pushing the age.
The race times come down as with the reaction times and race times and things like that change. Like not to throw a Hamilton under the bus or an Alonso under the bus.
I think it depends on the driver massively. Yeah. I think you see it in all sports really.
Yeah.
Because some footballers tail off really quickly, right?
Yeah.
And some don't.
Absolutely.
And that's the thing. You like I said, you see it in all sport. Look at Ronaldo. I mean, he's still playing. He's
ridiculous. Yeah.
He's fine. Looks like he's 25 still.
I mean, I spoke the other day to world champ female boxer. And Nina Hughes, wonderful. She won the World Championship at 39 in May.
And I think it's just, for whatever reason, some people physiologically and mentally fade faster. Great example is Sebastian Vettel, who physically aged a lot quicker than, Hamilton's younger than him actually. But also in his career, dropped off really quickly. Suddenly within 2 years, went from being the best driver in F1 to suddenly just declining like that. But it happens quite a lot across.
Do you speak to any of the British F1 drivers?
Not really. I mean, the thing is, we're a bit separated.
You've got Hamilton, Behrman, and
Behrman did
Russell.
one race.
Pardon?
Behrman did one race. We've got Norris as well.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Yeah, a bit, but not much. I mean, we're doing our own things. We're separate to them, really.
So there's not that kind of, chivying along another British driver.
No.
Like they just don't want you.
I think the thing about the feeder series, so F2, F3, is that everyone wants to make it out, but no one wants you to make it out.
Right.
That makes sense. So everyone's pushing to make it to F1.
That's because
but as soon as someone makes it to F1, I was like, oh.
There are only so many seats, right? There's literally two seats per team.
Around,
is that right?
and if you look at the grid, you've got... for example, this year, Red Bull drivers, they're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
In terms of, they might go to a different team, but they're not leaving F1.
They're not leaving F1.
Ferrari drivers, they're safe. Mercedes drivers, they're safe.
Yeah.
McLaren drivers, they're safe.
Yeah.
Aston, both drivers are safe. Alpine as well. So you're left every year with like 2 seats, maybe, if you're lucky.
Yeah.
Last year, there were no seats for anyone.
Wow, okay.
F2 champion won, and he had no seat to go to.
What do you do then? Because when I was thinking you can't then race in F2 again, do you go...
There are other series. There's a Japanese series called Super Formula.
Right, so they'll go across to that and just keep
That'll
sharp.
either be a reserve driver in F1 for a year and race something else.
Yeah.
So there's a Japanese series called Super Formula, which is essentially Japanese F1.
Right.
So the car is quicker than F2. All these Japanese manufacturers, but you just race in Japan.
Okay.
But it's probably the best preparation for F1.
Right, so if after F2, let's say you do brilliant, let's say you win this year and you can't race again in F2, then you have to...
And there's no seat for
and
me
there's
in
no
F1.
seat for you in Williams F1
I would either just be reserved for a year or race in something higher level than F2, which is basically either Super Formula or IndyCar in America.
Okay.
Yeah, they're the only other two.
It's not just about if you win F2, then you're in F1, as we said. There needs to be a seat. Williams, how's it looking now? Like, are they speaking to you about the possibility of anything opening up?
My job is purely to perform in F2.
Love the answer.
That's the way.
I know you're being truthful. I know you are.
Yeah, but that's the way I look at it.
It's next race.
All the contract stuff is all open to the public. Everyone knows all the terms. Both the Williams drivers' contracts end at the end of 2024.
They do.
In fact, half the grid I think ends at the end of 2024.
Right.
So it's a really open year, driver market wise.
So it's quite a good market. Good
25 is a good time. I think Lewis moving to Ferrari. Kind of kick-started all the negotiations. I'm sure there'll be science moving somewhere soon. And then it's kind of a set of dominoes, and you have to see what becomes of it, really.
I mean, it's not luck, but it's like things going your way. It's timing.
Timing is good. I mean, everyone in F2 right now has struck at the right time, because it's probably the most open year in driver markets that I can remember.
Nice. Do you feel like you're going to make it?
You can only hope, right?
Yeah.
Well, honestly, the one thing I've learned in motorsport is to never say never, but also never to predict anything.
Yeah.
Because it is the most versatile, unpredictable sport ever.
I mean, is that because it's driver error, kind of
everything,
machine as well?
Everything. You just look at it, and there'll be for example, there's this funny kind of meme goes around. It's like a domino set.
Yeah.
And it essentially starts from Alex Albon, who got appendicitis a couple of years ago.
Right.
Allowed another driver to race for their weekend. He performed really well. He got a seat in next year. That led to someone else getting fired. And it's like this massive combination of things that leads to something completely different, right?
Yeah.
But that's the thing in motorsport. There's always something. You can never predict anything. Even a race, you can never. And it's not even driver error. It's just one of those sports.
Yeah. Weather plays,
exactly.
All of these things. There's so many variables, so many factors.
There's so many variables.
What's F1 like, kind of financially? What's the?
So at that point, you're being paid.
Yeah.
So drivers not paying anything. The team selects you.
Is there an unwritten deal between you and your family? At some point, Zach, you're giving us some back.
Not particularly. I mean, the thing is, it depends if I make enough there or not.
But, you're like, listen, you want to be
Yeah.
happy. It's like wait until I make
exactly.
it. What kind of money will you? I know it's all public, so
no. It depends on the teams. Honestly, a rookie will probably get paid around between 250 and $500,000 for a first year.
Yeah.
They'll get a travel budget, stuff like that. Of course, half of that goes to tax. So
yeah.
It's more than enough for a 21-year-old. And that'll be normally like the way they do it normally is a 1+1 contract if you're a rookie, just to see how you are.
What does a 1+1 contract
So
mean?
it's a 1-year contract with an option to extend.
Okay.
It's 1+1. But the second year is written into the contract, ready to go.
Right. At the same financial rate?
Maybe slightly more, but normally the same.
Yeah.
And then it will go up to 2 million, 3 million.
So what's a Hamilton, or what's a max?
So for example, there's a big split in salaries across the grid. So all your midfield teams, so Williams, Racing Bulls, Alpine, Haas, they will never really pay more than 4 or 5 million a year.
Right. Okay.
They don't have the money to do so.
Yeah.
Quite frankly.
But then it becomes about endorsements and sponsorships and things like that.
But your base salary will be around 4 or 5 million.
Yeah.
If you're a well-performing driver, maybe a bit more, maybe 8, 9.
Yeah.
Verstappen is on 75 plus a year with Red Bull. Hamilton will be on 40 plus.
Yeah.
Alonso will be on 40.
Yeah.
Both Ferrari drivers will be, it's all online, but around 20-ish.
Yeah.
So the top teams are what pay the most. McLaren will be paying their drivers around 20 as well.
Yeah. So you right now, you're going out to try and find as many businesses as you can to give £500. Is that right? So it's a 500 for 500 thing.
500 companies.
500 companies. How's it going?
Good, actually.
Yeah.
Something my mum came up with early this year.
It's a really nice idea.
It is a nice idea. Every little helps. Obviously, hopefully, if it all goes to plan, tots up to 250 grand, which goes a fraction, but a big fraction of the way towards the season.
Yeah.
But no, it's really positive to see.
Is it all local companies that you're finding?
Local companies. There's been a lot of interest, which is
Do you know how many you're up to?
I don't actually know the exact number, but we had an event on Monday.
Yeah.
Leaflets are out to sign up for that, so I'm pretty sure we've got a few more there.
Yeah.
But no, it's going well.
I mean, talk to me about that event, because I saw the photos on Instagram.
Yeah.
It looked busy, and
it was really busy.
You're sat there at the front, on the stage, and what are you doing? You much like this, talking about your career, talking about
essentially.
Yeah.
Essentially, yes. The good thing about that event was people had purchased their tickets. They chose to come. So they had some motorsport knowledge, which was quite cool, because I like it when I can. Because some of the people were asking actually quite in-depth questions, and it's nice when people have a base interest. I can get them maybe the behind the scenes or more in-depth stuff they might not know about.
Yeah.
But essentially talking about my career, how it's going. And it was a nice event, actually. I was surprised how busy it was.
Where was it?
Dunkerton's Cider.
The cider place, yeah.
Yeah, which is an amazing venue, actually.
It's great, isn't it? Yeah.
And I really, really enjoyed myself.
Yeah. On that note, do you drink?
I do.
You do?
I mean, casually.
Constantly, every day.
Severe alcoholic.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you shouldn't let me in that car. But is there like dieting, alcohol, and fitness wise, and all that stuff? Like, talk me through that.
Yes.
What do you do? Gym, run?
Gym, running, a lot of gym training.
Could you put weight on, and how much does that impact you in the car?
I would rather not. I do have margin to put weight on. So the way it works is there's a minimum car plus driver weight.
Which is?
I don't know, actually.
Okay.
To be honest.
I mean, how much do you weigh now?
I am around 68 kilos.
Okay. Right. And you're not short either. You're what, 5'10", 5'11"?
I'm 6 foot, yeah.
You're 6 foot, 6 foot. Yeah.
So with race kit, I'm 72, 73, which is okay. It's not on the low side, it's not on the high side. Okay. It's kind of in the middle.
Where do you think you could go?
I could go as high as 75.
And then with race kit be...
I mean, that's 75 with race kit.
75 with race kit.
Yeah.
Okay. So
and then I'd be at the weight limit.
Right, so you've got a couple of kilos that you can put on, which, I mean, we're only talking 4 or 5 pounds.
Yeah, so it's not really worth it.
Like, Zach, I could put 4 or 5 pounds on today.
Yeah, exactly. It's true. Water weight, it's easy to put it on.
Yeah. So you've not got like an aesthetic that you're going for, like, that doesn't matter to you. It's
I mean, I want to be as lean as possible.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'll try and eat quite healthily if I can, do a lot of training. I also like being active, doing training. I feel a lot better. It's easy to let yourself slip into a week or so without doing much.
It's so easy.
Especially with travel and logistics. And it's just about making sure you actually get the time to do it.
Where do you train?
I've got a gym here in Cheltenham that I use, in London as well with my trainer. Yeah. The hardest thing, I'll be honest, is actually finding time when you're away and traveling. Yeah. Also taking equipment with you, stuff for neck training.
Talk to me about neck training. Yeah. I'm fascinated by it. How do you do it?
So as you can see, my neck's quite
wide.
It's a mixture of isometric holds. So I've got a harness essentially that my trainer can pull with bungees. Isometric holds, or some really big pulls to test your max strength.
So it literally is just left, right. I guess on all axes.
All axes down as well. So this is the worst one actually for braking.
Right. Okay.
In F1, you pull around 5.5, 6G under braking.
Wow.
That's what gets you.
That'll do it.
And that's your head and helmet around 10 kilos.
Yeah.
So it's 60 kilos.
Yeah.
Pushing down.
That's we were saying before we started recording. I ride a big motorbike, and I sometimes go maybe 70, 71 miles an hour. When I'm going quicker, I feel it. You can feel it in your neck, you can feel it in your shoulders. So going 200 miles an hour, I can only imagine.
Yeah, it's more that it's just the cornering as well, and it really gets you. Next, the hardest thing to train. It's probably my weakest point physically.
It's the thing as a somebody has trained for a very long time, 20 plus years. It's the thing that you don't even think about. But I remember reading, the Encyclopedia of Bodybuilding on his book, and he's there, with a head cradle.
It's crazy actually. So my shoulder strength, trap strength is really quite strong, but it's not like I train anything crazy for them. But just because of my neck's quite strong.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's the hardest thing to train. It's the hardest thing to be consistent with as well.
Yeah. And I guess nobody trains it because nobody.
And you're also it's quite easy to get injured doing it as well.
Is it
as
really?
You can imagine. Yeah, well, because we're not talking small weights.
Yeah.
Like if we're doing like 1 rep max on the neck, it's like 70 kilos.
Wow. Okay. As in pulling that
lateral.
Yeah,
everything. Wow. So my trainer with a load cell will pull as hard as I can to my neck.
How are you just from a physical perspective? You sat, you stood, you led.
So if we do like a rep max, I sit in my race car position.
Right.
So like a bathtub.
Which makes perfect sense.
Like a bathtub with your knees like this.
Yeah.
Like that. And I put my arm around a bench.
Yeah.
And it holds me in place. Normally some plates onto the bench or me to hold me down because otherwise I get pulled with it. And then you go from there, you attach a load cell to the neck trainer and you get a figure for 1 rep max. And then for the kind of suboptimal, sub-maximal training, I can attach to a cable and I can rotate against it or just hold.
So do you do that at the gym or do you do that?
At the gym.
Right, okay.
You can only do it at the gym, to be honest.
Yeah. So
otherwise, the thing is I can put it into door frames and stuff. Yeah. But me just leaning on it doesn't really do anything.
Yeah,
because
you need
body weight is not really enough.
So do you have a trainer when you
trainer? I'll do as much neck with the cables I can do it my own. But it's easier with the trainer to do it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
it's the hardest thing to train. It's the hardest thing to build muscle on as well.
Oh yeah, it's completely like it's just alien. You walk into a gym. There's not there's everything but anything to do with
and also it's the one that is the most. It's the worst if it goes when you're driving.
Right.
Because for everything
have you had that?
Yeah. It's awful. It's the worst. During F1 testing, I had it. Just it's because it's quite a small muscle. The fatigue is really bad. Cramps, it's just gone. You just lose all the strength in it, basically. So then your head just turns into like a ricochet in all the high speed corners. So as soon as you turn, it just goes. So you're just resting. When you hit the brakes. So once it goes, it's a pain. And also you end up, because if you're driving, you're driving. So you fight against it.
Yeah.
So what ends up happening is if it does go, you end up pulling a muscle or something in your neck, and then you're off training for a while whilst it's recovering. So it's a bit of an endless cycle. So it's the hardest thing to train, and it's the worst thing to not be strong enough in.
Yeah.
And it's the hardest thing also to have motivation to train.
Again, because nobody looks at it and goes, that's a fine neck. Nobody's like, you know, like you can, any other aspects of upper body, especially people like, Christ, go trains, right? But you're like, nobody's looking at you going,
I know, racing driver necks are always really big. But it's the worst thing. Like, for example, F2 cars, we have no power steering.
Yeah.
So steering is quite heavy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I did not think that'd be the case. Okay.
Yeah, no power steering at all. So a lot of the car setup is to make the steering lighter. For example, at some circuits, you'll have drivers.
Power steering?
I don't know. They never have them. But for some circuits, drivers will have accidents because they can't turn the steering wheel.
Right. That's crazy.
It's that heavy. I think it's something crazy like 70, 80 newton meters of force. We have a
70, 80, what, sorry?
Newton meters.
Newton meters. Okay, I've never even heard of a newton meter.
There's a lot of torque through the wheel. To the point where, like, for example, if you have a big, we call it snap of oversteer, or you lose control of the car, you can actually break your wrist when the wheel gets pulled.
I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah, or if you have an accident, you break your wrist normally if you don't take your hands off the wheel, stuff like that. So the steering is super heavy.
Yeah.
So we have to train our upper bodies quite a lot. But I've never really had to train it, which is strange. I've always been fine with steering.
Yeah.
But what's annoying is if your arms are struggling, there is stuff you can do with the car setup to make the steering a bit lighter.
Right.
We try not to do it because it takes away a bit of grip, but you can do it. With your neck, there's no chance.
No, you're right.
Drive slower.
Yeah. which nobody,
exactly.
Nobody wants to do.
Yep.
Have you seen, so we launched a client 6 years ago called Gravity, and it's jet suits. A guy called Richard Browning created jet suits. And it's the most incredible thing to see. Like, I remember we launched it on the 31st of April, 31st of March. Next day, journalists were like, all right, Rich, because I've done like creative stunts and things like that over the years. They're like, we think this is an April Fool. And I was like, no, this is like we dubbed him the real life Iron Man or this. They've just started a jet race series.
I think I've seen it.
Did you see it?
It's terrifying.
Well, that's what I wanted to get to is, how do you feel about stuff like that? Because, let's say F2 doesn't go to plan. Do you want to go off and do some jet suit racing?
I think the skills are so different.
Yeah.
But it's like anything. I mean, I'm sure people look at me racing or us racing and go, that looks terrifying.
Yeah. I mean,
but for us, it feels quite slow if it's fully in control.
Does it feel slow?
Yeah. Not fast at all.
So when do you drive
on the road?
On the road. What do you drive?
Mercedes A-Class.
Nice.
Small little hatchback, yeah.
What's your dream car?
My dream car is not very on brand to Williams, but a Porsche Singer.
Okay.
So Singer.
Well, Porsche don't have a race team, do they?
Yeah, but they renovate mid-70s Porsches.
Right.
So you buy a Porsche, give them the shell.
Yeah.
And they completely strip it, fit it with modern suspension, modern dampers, everything. All the parts are replicas of the parts they had in the 70s, but done to modern quality.
What's it called?
Singer.
The Porsche Singer.
Yeah.
I'm going to do this because
there's not one model. You just buy a Porsche and they'll renovate it for you.
Right. Wow. Okay. Porsche Singer. I'm just intrigued as to what they.
Yeah.
That is a beautiful car.
So if you look at the interiors and stuff, they do a very cool job. So that's all modern, but made to be a replica of the original car. So that's all brand new built.
That's so cool, man.
So I think they're really, really cool. They're very expensive, but they're very cool.
How expensive is expensive?
I think they're around $1 million or something.
Wow.
Because of the cost of renovating them, a new engine and everything. But I really like what they've done, because I think everyone wants to drive a classic car, right? But no one wants to have the hassle of it breaking down.
No.
Having to keep it maintained.
Yeah.
Whereas that, you just get in and drive every day.
And it looks like a classic car, but...
It looks like a classic car.
Yeah.
For all intents and purposes, it is a classic car,
but
it was just built last year.
I mean, fair enough.
Yeah. So really cool, yeah.
So no jet suits, no flying.
No flying, no bike riding, nothing.
No motorbikes, nothing like that. Just wanted to stay straight and narrow. Zach, I've got a game.
Okay.
Becoming an F1 driver is notoriously difficult. Do you know the likelihood, the chance, probability of becoming an F1 driver?
Is this part of the game?
It's part of the... Yes and no. I mean, once we got a base level, let's I'll go.
There's been 700 drivers.
Yeah, 775 drivers over the years. But given that there are only 20 seats, and
now 20 seats.
Yeah.
Oh.
So So the chances. I mean, if we go by the global population,
it's close to. It must be 1 in 500 million.
1 in 395 million.
Yeah.
1 in 395 million.
Yeah.
Anything I get wrong in this next bit in this game is all ChatGPT's fault. Okay. So let's blame. It's all Google and ChatGPT. Yeah. Blame the AI. It's the easy thing to do. But it reckons like from an actual probability perspective, it's 1 in 50,000, which sounds incredibly low. It's of the people that can't. 1 in 50,000 will make it to F1. Yeah. But if we're talking global population, it's 1 in 395 million.
It's crazy.
Okay. Let's play a game of higher or lower. Okay, so these are things that are...
You know the answers, don't you?
I've got the answers, yeah. So I've got the answers. Yeah. This is all you. The base level I need to give you is getting struck by lightning in your lifetime is 1 in 15,300. So the chances of getting struck by lightning are astronomically higher than becoming an F1 driver. Higher or lower, finding a pearl in an oyster?
Higher.
It is higher. It is 1 in 12,000.
Okay.
Becoming a saint, so being canonised by the Catholic Church, do you think it's higher or lower than finding a pearl in an oyster?
Ooh, lower.
1 in 20 million.
Yeah, so it's lower.
Yeah, much lower.
It's a bit of a mind.
Higher, lower. I was doing this beforehand, kind of practicing it, and exactly.
So higher is a higher probability.
Is more likely.
Not lower necessarily lower number. Yeah.
Exactly. Is winning an Olympic gold medal higher or lower in probability than becoming a Catholic saint?
It must be a higher probability.
It is a higher probability. It's 1 in 662,000.
Oh, wow.
Which is,
Catholic saint is super rare.
Yeah. I mean, I guess becoming a saint's pretty big deal.
Yeah, I guess so.
Becoming a professional soccer player, is it higher or lower than the chances of winning an Olympic gold medal?
Much higher.
Much higher. Yeah. It is 1 in 5,768.
Population?
By people that play.
By people that play.
Yeah, by people that play.
So it's 10 times more likely than getting to Formula 1.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. If my maths is right. Let's say yes. you carried on school. Winning the Powerball jackpot. So this, I think, is a US lottery, but let's say any lottery. 1 in 292.2 million. Yeah. So it's still more likely than becoming an F1 driver by population. You're more likely to win the lottery than become an F1 driver.
Okay, nice.
If we go by population. I'll do this with F1. Are you more likely to become an astronaut or driving in F1?
Astronaut.
You are more likely to be an astronaut.
There must be more than 20. Yeah.
1 in 12 million.
1 in 12 million.
Yeah.
Quite a few astronauts then.
Yeah, well, there are 48 current astronauts in NASA. So that's just NASA.
The Russian space program.
Plus Russia, plus China, all of that. So yeah, you are far more likely to be an astronaut or to become an astronaut
than F1.
Than an F1 driver.
Astronaut, yeah.
Yeah, well, that's it. If it just doesn't pan out.
Did you just say I want to go to space? Or?
I mean, but you've been
under... The term astronaut makes it sound like a special profession.
I think of it like space-going astronaut, right? Like, rather than... Do you think there are astronauts that don't go to space? I don't know.
But what do they do? No, it sounds stupid, but...
Scientist things?
Because, astronaut, it makes them sound like they're not flying the rocket. They just get belted in and sent to space.
I guess, to an extent...
I think they should just send the general population up.
Do you reckon?
Yeah, conscription to be an astronaut. Yeah.
It's just like your turn. It's like the Hunger Games.
Yeah.
It's like you're going
off to Mars for you.
Yeah.
It must be quite boring though.
It must be. Must be. Months. Yeah. But I guess it's a lot of the same things as you. Like G-force. It's reaction time. You'd imagine there's you need.
I think it'd be really fun being in space with no gravity.
Yeah, 100%.
Or fun or annoying. I'm not sure. But
would you be one of the people that would say, "Okay, I'll go to Mars. I'll help colonize that place"?
No.
Why?
Because what if it goes wrong?
Very true.
I like Earth.
Yeah, that's fine.
Earth's fine.
Yeah, that's good.
We've got gravity.
Yeah.
There's no chance of us freezing or boiling.
Very true.
But Mars, I mean, going there, sure, 7 months. But colonizing, I don't know.
Yeah.
Also, I mean, it's cool, but there's only, you can take as many. You can only just take photos, can't you? Like, I went to Mars. Oh, cool, mate.
Yeah, you're like
that's it. And I'm pretty sure there's a lot of rehab afterwards. You lose all your muscle.
Do you?
A lot of it. If you don't train constantly, you lose all leg muscle because you're not walking.
I had no idea.
Because they can't. Yeah, I think they have a push bike or something bolted down.
Right.
Otherwise, it would obviously fly.
Yeah.
but it has to be done on resistance, not gravity, and yeah. Otherwise, you just don't do anything for ages.
Yeah, and I guess if it is 7 months there, 7 months back,
Yeah, you just
it's a lot of time.
It's like lying in bed for 7 months, basically.
Yeah. What do you do in your spare time?
I'm going to sound very racing drivery, aren't I?
If it's that, it's that.
Yeah, training. Not because I really choose to, I kind of have to. But training, a bit of simulator stuff, but not much. Meeting with friends, really, just catching up with people I haven't seen. I've got no kind of rigid plan.
So how often are you actually at home?
Not that much.
What are we talking? A few days a month?
Yeah, maybe a bit more.
Yeah.
Depends on the month. I mean, before this, I was away for 5 weeks. So.
Yeah.
But it's more, my life is very fluid.
Yeah.
So
I guess it's really planned for you, isn't it? You know exactly what you're doing.
There's never a plan, really. It's just...
But in terms of like, the races and things.
Yeah, and plus other stuff around.
How long do you go out there? So let's say Bahrain. Like, how long are you there before you race it?
Bahrain was a bit different. Yeah, I was there, I think, on the Tuesday.
Right.
We were racing on Thursday. Qualifying was on Thursday.
Right.
So when you arrive Tuesday, at the track on Wednesday for some media stuff. And
do you get a chance to actually enjoy the places
really.
You go?
Melbourne, yes.
Yeah.
Because obviously jet lag gave me an excuse to go there early.
Yeah.
But the rest, not really, no.
Do you go with your family still?
Just with my dad.
Yeah.
This year. But I enjoy it. The thing is, a lot of the places in Europe, especially, I've been to countless times, 5-6 times already.
Right.
All the tracks kind of repeat themselves every year.
Yeah. So do you find though that you go to the country, you go to the track, you come back.
Basically.
So you never really get to be a tourist.
Like, for example, Barcelona is the one everyone always says, "Oh, you're going to Barcelona?" I'm like, no.
No, I'm going to
an industrial estate like 20 kilometers outside Barcelona. But I always try and make time. If I'm like, I'll stay on the Sunday of the race sometimes.
Yeah.
And hang around in Barcelona for a bit.
Yeah.
If I have time, but normally not really.
Right.
Yeah.
What do you think about? Do you watch much TV?
A bit, not much though.
Yeah.
Less than I should. More Netflix.
Yeah. Drive to Survive. What are your thoughts on it?
I struggle to watch it.
Why?
A lot of it is quite fake. And
in what sense? What's fake?
The rivalries, a lot of the if you've watched F1, you have an idea of F1. A lot of the team radios are spliced from different races.
Oh no way! Okay.
Yeah, and a lot of fake stuff. I'm like, well, that's a bit annoying.
Right? Are they doing it just to? I mean, it's drama, right? It's to create tension.
I think the mistake they've made is the first year was brilliant because it gave people a really basic insight into F1. It showed the drama that perhaps wasn't there, but it was good to get people involved. But then what they should have done was realise they got people gripped and then started making it more and more, I think, technically advanced. So then if you wanted to watch it, you could go back to season 1, which gave you a basic idea of it, and then watch through. Whereas instead what they've kind of got now is the same thing every year.
Right.
And you've already watched the season of F1.
Yeah. So
everyone kind of knows what the storylines are. You'll watch it, but it's the same as it was in season 1. I think they should have done some sort of progression through where it got more and more involved, less fake, and more kind of not fan dictated, but a bit more in depth.
So you think
you
it's
could have
possibly
watched through to learn more about F1.
It's trying to appeal to a very broad,
but they've got
base,
that audience
right?
now.
Yeah.
Because the views have dropped massively in the last 2 years.
I've not actually seen.
Yeah, because they got their audience in year 1 and 2.
Stick with them.
Cool, but now actually educate them a bit more.
What does? Because you said it a few times. What does a more technical understanding of the sport look like?
The actual ins and outs of what goes on. Scrap the drama because sometimes there is no drama.
Yeah, they got to create some.
Yeah, sometimes there is none. Go behind the scenes properly with drivers, the way they train. I think it'd be really interesting to go behind the scenes with teams during their car build. It's probably one of the most stressful times.
Would teams open that up though?
I think so. Yeah. You sign an NDA with Netflix. So,
yeah.
I mean, for example, in the F1 paddock, there's always a boom mic hovering over your head.
Right.
As soon as you go in, if you get gifted an F1 pass, you're on Netflix.
Right.
Potentially on Netflix.
Does that happen to you?
I'm probably in the background of some shot. I've never checked, but yeah.
Okay, so you think
so they always film a lot. So there's a lot of B-roll that never gets used.
Of course.
Yeah.
That could be you next year. You could be.
Hopefully I don't get a whole episode dedicated to me because it's never a good thing.
No, that's true.
Normally, if there's an episode dedicated, it's not a good thing. But yeah.
Do you watch any of the other sports documentaries?
I watched Breakpoint from tennis.
Yeah, I've not seen that one yet. I've watched the golf one.
But you see, that's good because I don't know much about tennis, and that educated me. I was like, oh, this is quite cool. Gets me into it.
Yeah.
But I'm sure the tennis
probably think the same thing.
It was awful. But then it would be interesting to go in a bit more detail.
Well, that's the thing with the rugby one. I don't know if you've seen that. Full Contact. Is it Full Contact? I think it's good.
Yeah.
But my concern with these things sometimes is that brings along the people that already like it, and it confirms some biases and it ticks some boxes rather than the person over there that's no interest or understanding of rugby, not no interest, but no understanding.
But I feel like the ship sailed for sports documentaries.
Do you think
F1 got it first, so Drive to Survive
did it so well? It's the same team, I think.
It's the same team doing it all, and I'm like, well.
Yeah, I mean, I like seeing behind the curtain. And
No,
I think
it's
most
cool
people
for
do,
fans.
right?
That's the thing.
Yeah.
The thing that was amazing about Drive to Survive was it captured an audience that had never heard of F1.
Yeah,
suddenly,
100%. My eldest daughter was watching it, and she had zero interest in F1.
Suddenly, you open Netflix, and it's like top episode. Like I remember when it first came out, I was like, oh my god.
Yeah.
Like everyone's talking about F1 now.
Yeah.
It's trending number one.
3 years ago?
Came out at the end of 2018.
Oh wow! Yeah. Jeez, so we're talking
We're in
6
season
years.
6 now. Yeah. So when it first came out, it was like, wow! Suddenly F1 is trending on Netflix, number one show, and everyone's suddenly watching it.
Yeah.
And that kind of brought a lot of people, but now it's a bit like, well, we've seen that already. You know what it's going to be. So let's see. It's a really good idea, but
I mean, I'm a huge fan of all the American football documentaires.
Yeah, very
I don't know if
cool.
you've ever seen
Basketball
those.
as well.
Basketball ones are incredible.
Yeah.
Like the kind of Last Chance U and
Jumpman.
And all the Hard Knocks. I don't know if you've ever seen the NFL Hard Knocks ones where they go pre-season.
Yeah.
So before they make the 53-man cut.
That's the stuff people want to see.
Oh man, it's powerful. You got any role models or anybody you look to from other sports?
Not massively, to be honest. I'll be honest, I haven't followed any other sports close enough.
I love this. Everybody I talk to, I always get to this same next sentence, which is obsession is key.
Yeah.
Absolute obsession for everybody I've sat in front of.
Yeah.
And we've had gold medal winners, world champions, world record holders, blah blah blah. Like entrepreneurs that have sold for crazy money. It's always obsession.
Yeah,
it's always.
So I've only ever followed F1 really. So there's no point in me saying, "Oh, this guy's really cool." I've never watched them. I could say, Tiger Woods or
so you're not like a football
Muhammad
fan
Ali.
or anything like that.
The football I grew up I still watch it a bit.
Did you support Chelsea?
Chelsea.
Yeah. Do you think you missed out on anything?
Maybe a bit of social interaction, but I was too busy to do anything else really. So not really. So I think it's cruel to take a kid out of school into homeschooling if they're not doing anything else like elite sport.
And I know we joked earlier on. You were joking to your mum about being an only child, and like you don't want two of me.
Yeah. Like,
would you have liked to have had a sibling?
No.
Really?
Not at all. And in a selfish way, I probably wouldn't have been racing if there were two of us as well.
That's probably right. Yeah.
I don't, because most people I talk to are a bit like. I feel like there's less. Whenever I hear about a sibling, it's always complaining about them.
That's very true. That's very true. But I guess everybody has their own bonds.
Exactly.
But you got cousins and other family members.
Cousins, family members, yeah. But I'm not massively close to them. I just do my own thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So you strike me as quite a, you said one of the first things you said was you're just quite happy by yourself.
Yeah. I'm fine with it. Yeah.
Do you read?
No, I want to though.
Why does everybody always say that?
Because I feel like it's a good thing for me to do, and I feel like through school, it got such a bad reputation,
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? Because it's like you're forced to read shit you don't want to read. Yeah,
I was forced to read. It's like, when you come back tomorrow, you need to be on page 63. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
And then note it all down.
What sort of stuff do you like?
What, in terms of reading?
Yeah.
Honestly, anything. I want to get into more. The truth is I haven't read since school.
Right.
But because it was like...
I mean, it's not that long ago for you, is it?
Yeah, but you get out of school and you're like, oh... I can watch a movie now.
Yeah.
No one's gonna.
But what do you watch? What kind of movies do you watch?
I'm really into more documentaries.
Interesting.
So any crime documentaries, frauds. It's not looking very good, is it? But but even on YouTube, there's some really good stuff out there. Some really good producers who do.
What sort of stuff do you like?
A truck company called Nikola.
Right.
Who supposedly built hydrogen trucks.
Right.
I think the company at one point was worth 40 billion.
Oh wow!
He was worth 9 billion.
Is this one of those situations like that woman with the blood testing?
Yeah. It was complete fraud.
What was that?
Turns out the truck was literally it got pushed down a hill. No, I'm being serious.
I mean, I don't doubt it.
It was a plastic frame of a DAF truck.
Yeah.
They put a plastic frame around it and showed it like this is a runner. This isn't a run. This isn't a pusher. They call it. This isn't a pusher. This isn't a pusher.
Yeah.
Host this thing in the Geneva Motor Show.
Right.
And if you look closely, zoom into the image. It had no electrics in this truck, and they you can see an extension socket underneath the truck powering the lights.
This is incredible.
And they filmed
stuff like that. Is I guess you're watching that like I watch it. Like you just can't believe that people can get away with this.
They filmed this promo video, and they're like, we just pushed it. They pushed it down a really shallow hill, and then sped up the footage.
That is.
But they had General Motors invested. They were worth more than Ford. And now he's in prison.
I mean, It just blows my mind what we'll believe en masse.
Yeah,
you know. You playing around with AI at all? How will it impact motorsport?
Only positively.
You think?
It already is. I mean, it has been in the last 10 years impacting it positively. All the simulations we use are run on AI.
Right.
The teams know what window to put the car in. It's all run on AI prior to the weekend.
Okay.
Even F2, F3 level. Yeah.
So do you think any recent advancements are going to impact it?
Potentially. I mean, the more advancements, the better. Strategy can be done on AI as well. They use quite clever AI tools for that live in the race. There's a lot more than you think going on with it. In terms of the argument for driving, it's never going to be.
Yeah, I mean, nobody wants to see. You may as well just start Gran Turismo and set the computer racing itself, right?
It's never gonna.
Who cares?
For me, AI is never going to take over. I mean, it will never be faster than a real driver. I don't think.
You don't think?
No, impossible.
Why?
Because everything a real driver does is based on feeling and predicting stuff, and there's no calculation that can tell an AI car what grip there's going to be every lap, because everything's constantly changing. The wind's changing, the tyre grip's changing, there could be oil on the track, there could be dust on the track. When we're running behind other cars, we lose downforce. You can play around with your lines to affect that. Everything's adaptable, and racecraft is another thing. Actually racing other cars, you have to be really clever. A lot of the time when I'm racing other cars, or we're racing other cars, we're not driving as fast as we can, because we're looking to be quite smart with the way we position the car. We can give people dirty air, we call it, which is the turbulence from the car behind.
Right.
So you can position your car.
Is that something that's done?
Constantly.
No way.
To potentially screw people over. Even in the wet, for example, you'll see it a lot.
So do you know when somebody's about to do that to you?
You can feel it, but a lot of Alonso in F1 is the best at it. I mean, we got a penalty actually recently for causing an accident because of it. But, slowing up deliberately, just causing the car to brake, and then there's clever stuff like that. You can play around with DRS, which is a drag reduction system.
Right. Yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah, within a second of the car behind, right? But there's detection points, so a lot of drivers play around with backing off before the detection points, they get the DRS. So there's so much that's just different. Human. It's all human.
It comes back to what you were saying about you racing in Budapest. You made a decision. You made a choice. Is AI going to make that same choice?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's never gonna. For me, it's never gonna work on a simulator in perfect conditions.
Yeah.
AI is already way quicker than humans.
Yeah.
For example, on some sim racing games, AI, they can drive the perfect lap every lap. Yeah. They're amazing, but in reality, I don't see it working.
And reaction time wise, do you have to test a lot? Do you do a lot of training on it?
Interesting. I don't.
Yeah. Do some racers?
Some people do.
Is this the thing that outside looking in? It's one of those things that you think, what I know of F1 or what I know of motorsport, it's incredible.
It's not a massive thing. I think it's more your cognitive reaction to stuff.
Right.
So let's say there's an accident in front of you.
Yeah.
Your reaction time, your pure reaction time, could be hitting the brake. Okay. But that might be the complete wrong decision. So you hit the brake, you lock up, you go into the accident.
Yeah.
But then actually, I'd rather be, instead of reacting in 0.2 of a second, react in 0.4 of a second.
And it'd be the right
choose
decision.
the right side to go around the car or something like that.
Yeah.
So for example, off the start, 5 lights are on. When the lights go out, everyone has to release a clutch.
Yeah.
That initial 5 meters is pure reaction time.
Yeah.
And I've never seen anyone really get done off the line because of reactions.
Right.
It's always, the whole grid is between 0.2 and 0.3 of a second. That's pure reaction time.
Yeah.
That's like a reflex, So that's what you test on like an app where the lights go out.
Yeah. And I was playing with some last night.
It's physically impossible for a human to be under 0.2 without predicting it.
Is it?
200 milliseconds.
Oh my gosh.
So in F1, for example,
you'll
be classed as a jump start if you're under a certain amount.
Right.
Because you predicted the lights, basically.
Okay. Yeah, that's hilarious. I didn't
know how you hear a frog has a reaction time of this.
Right.
That's the fastest it can possibly be. And for a human, it's around, I think it's 0.18 milliseconds.
Right.
So 0.18 seconds is as quick as you can react visually to something. Sound, you can react quicker.
Because there was
the sprinters react faster than we do.
There was an app. I was doing, the 5.
Yeah, lights out.
5 lights out. Have you played that?
Yeah. We can measure reaction time. A really good start is like 0.24, 0.25.
Yeah, I think I got 0.27 at one point, something like that.
Normally I'm around 0.2 to 0.3.
Yeah.
But everyone's the same.
Right, that's interesting.
Because it's just humans.
I was speaking to my partner and I was like, maybe that'd be fun to do with Zach. And she was like, is it going to be even that different? Can it physically be that different?
You can't train that.
Cool.
That's what you're training, is a signal going from your eyes to your brain to your fingers.
Yeah.
There's no thinking, it's just clicking a button. But what's more interesting actually is your cognitive reaction. So picking the right decision, and that's stuff you can train.
Right.
We do coloured exercises, for example. Yeah. Let's say you get 4 colours that come out and you can only pick yellow. Yeah. It's about how quickly you can actually...
Have you seen those walls? I'm sure you have.
Stuff like that.
Is that the stuff you do?
Yeah, I don't particularly do it that much, but you can do it to train certain aspects of it. It's quite cool. Yeah, wow. Peripheral vision as well. You can train with wide walls, so you can train your stuff out here, out there, which is quite cool.
So this is the behind the scenes stuff that I'd love to see more of, because like these things make differences. These things make, even if there's a 0.1 of a second difference, that's still, like things have been decided on, smaller margins, right? So in terms of the rest of the season, where you go next?
Imola in Italy, right near Bologna.
Driven that track many times?
Twice before. Yeah. Right, okay. 2 races before.
You can see it, you know it?
I know it.
I love that, because I always think of, like, if I'm going somewhere, I think, well, I know, like, I can almost bird's eye view it. I'm like, okay, I kind of know where I'm going. Yeah. And my partner, she's like, how do you do that? And I'm like, I know if I want to go home, I know it's that way. Yeah. Like, just almost always. But for you, I just love that you've got this. If you close your eyes, can you run through it?
Yeah, in first person.
That's so fun. So you're going to Italy and then...
straight to Monaco.
Yeah.
2 weeks off. Then
what are you doing in 2 weeks off? You going anywhere?
Sim work, mainly with my team in France.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Bit of training, nothing really too fun.
No.
2 weeks off, then to Barcelona.
Yeah.
Start of July. And then...
And the season ends...
November.
Yeah. Right.
Or first week of December, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, Barcelona. Then we go to Austria. Yeah. UK for my home race.
Oh, nice one. At
Silverstone.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah.
When's that?
I don't actually know the week. Whenever the F1 is, we're there.
Yeah. Okay.
So we run with F1 every race.
Yeah.
Then Hungary, then Belgium, Italy, Qatar, Azerbaijan.
I love that you know this.
Yeah. And then Abu Dhabi.
Nice.
Yeah, that's it done in Abu Dhabi.
And then, so Abu Dhabi could be your last last race in F2.
I hope so.
Me too. Do you know what I mean? I'm just invested now. Like,
exactly.
When, as soon as Ian got in touch, I was like, actually, it's lovely. I try with this to have people local as well.
Yes.
In Series 1, I had Dan Norton. He's like the best sevens player ever to do it. Had Shabir, the undefeated boxer, and Christian Leroy Duncan, who's in the UFC.
Yeah.
So they're incredible people all around us, and I think that's the main thing is just pulling it out and showing you don't. I think sometimes Gloucestershire's quite down on itself. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, no, there are awesome people doing really cool things.
Yeah.
So no, I've had it's been really, really cool getting. Like I say, this is more than anything. I'm curious. I don't know enough. I want to know more. So conversations like this help me. I'm like, okay, cool. Well, I know tons more about through research and through.
No, it's a really cool sport, and I'm happy people are noticing it because it went quite under the radar for a while.
Do you think? 'Cause for me, I don't.
It was always for purists.
Yeah, it's a purist.
I feel like it was quite a closed off community.
For something that only 20 people race in, it's so well known. Like, as a brand, I think it's done incredibly well. And I think it manages itself well and it manages its drivers well. I mean, are you ready for the fame that would come with?
I think so. I mean, it's not crazy.
Do you not think?
No, it depends how successful you are.
Yeah.
But no, it's not crazy, and you're doing.
I guess
the racing is the most important thing.
Of course, it is.
No, we'll see. I don't think it'll be too bad, and if it does become bad, it's good news. So
because you're doing well.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. What is going on in your life in 10 years' time? Where are you in 10 years' time? So you're 29 years old at that point.
I don't know. Hopefully in F1, but let's see. Honestly, I've got no idea.
It's madness.
I've given up predicting anything.
Which is funny. You've got such a I'm sure you've been told this before. Like an older head.
Yeah, but there's no point in me saying I'm definitely gonna be in F1 in 10 years. I also believe in whenever I think something's gonna go well, it always goes terribly.
Oh really?
Like in life.
So just let it play out.
Yeah. I'd rather not think anything going in. Yeah. Then if it goes badly, I'm like, well, yeah, that's what happened. If it goes well, cool.
So you just react.
Yeah.
You spend your life reacting and making decisions.
I mean, you can make a plan, right?
Yeah.
But you can't. A plan is as much as it can be.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
because then if you trick your mind and think it's reality, you're like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this.
Yeah. So you're not one for those bloody mood boards and.
It's a plan. That's all it is. It's a guideline. Yeah. And you can't predict it. Yeah, it's impossible.
But with that said, all the very, very best for the next season. For the remainder of the season. Hopefully we'll keep in touch, and I want to see what happens next year.
Excellent.
I'm really excited about where this goes for you. And if people want to follow you, all that stuff, where can they find you?
Instagram, Twitter, all of the above.
Yeah.
At Zak.O'Sullivan on Instagram.
Nice.
And at Zak O'Sullivan on Twitter.
Awesome. And
or X, sorry.
X. If any companies want to get involved in the 500
yes,
thing?
My email is all attached on my social medias.
Yeah.
So
if any companies out there think I want to support Zak, I'm sold. I want to support his dream to get into, to keep him moving forward. They can find it all there.
Get involved there.
Thank you very much. All right, Zak. Cheers, man. That was so much fun. Thank you so much. Nice one.
And there we have it. I hope you enjoyed. I've done all the plugs in the intro. I'm done with all that stuff. If you enjoy this, subscribe. Most people... What actually happens often is people listen, watch a thing, and then don't subscribe, even though they liked it. Go do yourself a favor. Do me a favor. Go on. Subscribe, follow, review, all of those good things. If you enjoyed it, I really hope you come back. Next Monday, we'll have another guest. And there's a great catalogue. The library of guests is really starting to build nicely now. So go find somebody else. I guarantee there's somebody you want to listen to. And it's probably not this idiot, but I have other good people on as well. So, they balance it up. Right. Goodbye. Goodbye. See you in a bit. Cheers.